Imagine a school student whose father is a gang member, and every day he beats him. But a day comes when this student's girlfriend goes to talk to his father to stop beating him, but his father beats her instead. And here, this student finishes him off, breaks a vase over his head, and goes to prison. And his journey with the bullies in prison begins. Will he get out of prison and continue his life with his girlfriend? Or what is waiting for him in this prison? And what will the gang do with him after the student finished off one of its most important men, his father? Let's see what happened with Young. Our story begins in juvenile prison, and our hero Young is standing terrified with circles drawn on his face, and his prison mates are holding him so he doesn't move. The cell leader aims a silver coin at him and will hit him with it using a rubber band. So our hero says, "Wait a second, can't you just hit me normally?" There's no need to do this. The leader, whose name is Song, charged with harassment and sentenced to 2 years, replies, "What, you don't want it? But you said you wanted the money? You do everything to earn money. I mean, you were shoveling snow for 301 and warming our shoes for 101, and you agreed to be our dog for a day for 201. And now you'll be a human target and take 501 from us." The truth is, guys, this prison is a juvenile prison, and this is where criminals under 19 are imprisoned. Or in other words, it's a place where all the hideous teenagers in Korea gather, and it's the place where violence and crime happen naturally every day. We go back to Song again as he says, "Better for you to close your eyes so they don't pop out. You'll look so funny when I hit you in the middle of your face between your eyes." But before he shoots the silver coin, the rubber band snaps and the coin flies and falls into the toilet. It then falls into the water, so Song asks, "Does anyone have an extra rubber band?" His mate replies, "You know rubber bands are very rare here." Song looks at our hero and says, "You're lucky, young boy. You're still standing there. Go on, get the money." Our hero is happy, thanks him, and runs towards the bathroom. But Song tells him, "Wait, it'll be too boring if you get it that easily. Get it with your mouth." Our hero stands inside the bathroom looking at the money while his mates outside are talking about someone having diarrhea yesterday. But suddenly our hero puts his head inside the toilet bowl and the water, and they're all shocked by the filth he did. One of them says, "He sold all his principles for money and it's barely 501. Of course, for our hero, after getting the 501, he has collected 50,001 so far. One of the people there says, "Boss, isn't it time for roll call?" They all head out and Song tells our hero, "Hey, Young, don't come out too fast because you stink." Got it? We see them walking down the prison hallway talking about how our hero ended up like this in just a month. And even if there was no money, he gave up on being human. He's in prison now because he was convicted of murder. And of course, our hero's sentence, guys, is 3 years. Song says, "I mean, whether he's a killer or anything else, it doesn't compare to money." His friend replies, "But why is this kid so obsessed with money? Could he have debts or loans or something like that?" We see a god calling our hero, telling him he has a visitor. As for our hero, guys, he's saving money for one reason, which is his girlfriend, Yoon. We see her waiting in the visiting room, asking him, "What's wrong? Why has your face thinned out like that? Is there no food in prison, or is someone hitting you in there too?" Our hero replies that none of what she's saying is true. Yoon continues, "You idiot. I told you the first impression is the most important. Didn't I also tell you to gouge someone's eye out as soon as you got in?" Young says, "Forget about that. Why are you visiting me so much? Don't waste money like that." Yoon gets angry, bangs on the glass, and says, "Do you think I'm begging? And besides, come here. What's the deal with these coins? Where did you get them to send them to me? It's true, I don't have a family, but that doesn't mean I'll accept shady money, understand?" Our hero asks her, "Wait a second, why did you bring them here with you?" She replies, "They have to do with the promise between us. Our promise to live together in Seoul after we graduate from high school. I'll get the money ready in my own way. You just take care of yourself." And here the guard says the visit is over. Yoon stands up and says, "Do you understand me? The only thing you should think about is getting out of here and don't pressure yourself at all. Promise me, okay?" Our hero waves goodbye to her as she leaves. After she leaves, he sits thinking about the promise, and he remembers when he was in the hospital sitting next to her saying, "Yoon, I'm sorry for what my father did." We see Yoon, and signs of being beaten are visible on her. She replies, "Sorry? Are you kidding? This isn't the right time to worry about me. Your father is in a coma now after I hit him with the vase. And if he doesn't wake up, the police won't let it slide." Our hero tells her, also showing signs of being beaten, "It's okay. I mean, if we compare it to how he treated me, the punishment won't be that bad." We see our hero in court, and the judge tells him, "Defendant Young, the court sentences you to 3 years in prison." At that moment, our hero was surprised he was imprisoned for resisting just once, even though he had been abused by his father his whole life. When the police come to take him to prison, Yoon says, "You must eat well and let me know if anyone bullies you." Okay? That's a promise between us. Our hero looks at her without replying and walks with the police to prison. The truth is, guys, when a prisoner causes trouble in prison, it extends the sentence even more. And to reduce the sentence, the prisoner must follow the rules. We see our hero in his cell, looking at a photo of him and Yoon, thinking he'll hold on for 3 years so they pass peacefully. And here, Song comes up behind him and says, "Ah, she's a beautiful girl." Our hero gets startled and hides the photo immediately. So Song asks him if she's his girlfriend, and he replies, "No, she's just a friend." Song continues laughing. "So it's unrequited love. Give me that photo, kid." Our hero refuses to give him the photo. So Song says, "Young, you dare to resist? I guess I have to set things straight every now and then. It seems you need to be taught a lesson again." He raises his hand to strike him, but at that moment, a guard enters with a new prisoner. And he says, "Cell number 36, you have a new cellmate." Sung is surprised and says, "Someone new? I haven't heard anything about this." The guard tells the new prisoner, "Don't cause any trouble. We'll be watching you from now on." One of the inmates is shocked and says, "I know this kid. He's the one who killed 7 people at his school. His name is Guillaume." And Guillaume, everyone, has been sentenced to 20 years, which is the maximum sentence in juvenile prison. As soon as our hero sees him, he's amazed that this person killed 7 at once. They're all standing there staring at Guillaume, and Sung says as he walks toward him, "Why are you idiots trembling? What do you mean he killed 7 people? No one is here unless they did something bad, like this killer. Look, see the filthy face in front of you. You're accused of murder, right? Don't be arrogant here, you understand? And behave yourself and be respectful." Guillaume looks at Sung's hand but doesn't respond, leaving him and walking away. Sung laughs and says, "I thought this would be easy." "You animal!" And here, Sung attacks him to strike him, but Guillaume moves quickly and dodges the blow, shocking everyone present. And Sung says to himself, "This joke dodged my attack." Our hero stands there watching what's happening in front of him, and he sees that Guillaume is a different kind of person for killing 7 people. We see Guillaume aiming a blow at Sung, but he stops his hand in front of his face, and Sung takes advantage, hitting him and knocking him down. He starts kicking him while insulting him, saying, "Know your place, you animal? Who do you think is the boss here? Everyone in this cell, whether they're killers or drug dealers, they all bow to me." Our hero thought Guillaume would resist a little, but now he sees him as just a failure. Later, we see Guillaume sitting in the middle of the cell, and Sung approaches, hits him on the head, and says, "Go get some water, kid." But Guillaume stays in his place and doesn't respond to anyone. And of course, the reaction is that everyone in the cell gathers and beats him up. As for our hero, we see him cleaning the bathroom, wondering why Guillaume doesn't listen and subjects himself to this beating. Night comes and we see them sleeping in the cell. Guillaume, whose face is swollen from the beating, lies next to our hero, who says, "Listen, are you stupid? Is it that hard to bow a little to the boss? I know he's a jerk, but the boss here is the king of the cell. It's only natural to keep quiet and do what he tells you. There's no need to stand up to him if you can't fight. Just do what he says tomorrow." Guillaume replies, "Do you always live so submissively?" Our hero is shocked by his response, even though he was giving him advice. But those words affect him, and he says to himself, "Yes, I must always back down and live submissively until the very last moment so I can get out of this place." Time passes, and we see Yoon standing on the sidewalk waiting for the light. Thinking that Young has lost a lot of weight, she's brought him some food. And of course, she knows she shouldn't talk about what happened, but she understands that his mental state isn't great. But he needs to eat well during this time, and the food she brought isn't much. But he'll be very happy with it. The light turns green and she crosses the street. But before she reaches the other side, a large truck comes and doesn't stop at the light. Yoon looks at it in shock, and suddenly the truck hits her. We see Yoon lying on the ground along with the food. The next morning, we see the guard telling our hero, "I'm sorry for your loss." Our hero asks him what he means. The guard continues, "Yesterday, an accident happened in front of the prison gate, and this accident happened to the girl who was coming to visit him." Our hero is shocked and devastated as soon as he hears the news, and he returns to his cell and sits there. And Guillaume keeps looking at him, surprised by his condition. And here Seong comes out of the bathroom shouting, "You animal Yong, why didn't you clean the bathroom today? Have you gone crazy, kid?" And he runs towards him. But at that moment, he's surprised when he sees him holding the photo and continues, "What? Are you back to looking at this photo again since the start of the day? What's going on now?" One of his cellmates tells him that yesterday there was an accident in front of the prison gate and that girl died. So Seong says to him, "Are you serious? So that girl was your girlfriend. That's why she was visiting you. Why were you lying to me? And what are you going to do now that she's dead?" He takes the photo from him while laughing, looks at it, and continues, "Cute, isn't she? Too bad she was with Yong. Does anyone want this photo, guys? The price starts at 500 won. It's very cheap." The guys in the cell start raising the price as if they're in an auction. and one of them raises his hand and says, "A question, boss. Can we go out on a date with this girl?" The one next to him replies, "Are you stupid, kid? How are you going to go out on a date with her when she's dead?" Sejong says, "If she were alive, it wouldn't have been just a date. You would have also had a lot of fun with her." They keep talking about Yong, and our hero sits without moving. And Guillaume keeps looking at him from afar and remembers when he told him that he lives in submission, but suddenly he's shocked by what's happening in front of him. We see Sejong still talking, and at the same time, he gets a punch to the face. That punch is from our hero, who slams him to the ground. Of course, everyone here is shocked by what happened. Our hero keeps staring at Xiong with a terrifying gaze, while Guillaume watches in surprise, recalling when they were in a workshop at the prison's rehab center. Then our hero says, "You know, my father was the right hand of a gang leader, and he was very successful. And every moment when I was young, I was subjected to daily abuse as naturally as breathing. But what could I do? Even though it was very disgusting, but I was forced to live with him because he's my father. And in any case, there was only one time when I couldn't control myself and couldn't stand it, when he laid a hand on my girlfriend. And during the time I was being beaten by him, I learned to fight well." And we return to the cell again. And Seong is looking at him and saying, "Ah, you animal, everyone finish him off." Everyone in the cell attacks our hero, who starts beating them one after another, knocking them all to the ground afterwards. And of course, Guillaume is watching him and seeing what's happening in front of him. And after this battle, everyone has been beaten and fallen to the ground. And our hero is holding Seong, who says to him, "Yong, I'm sorry, I'll give you money." "Don't you need money? How much do you want?" Our hero replies, "Money? Money isn't bad, but right now I don't need it because the reason I wanted to get out of here, or even what always makes me hold back, is no longer there." We see our hero punching Xiong's face left and right with terrible force, and Guillaume is shocked by what our hero is doing to him. And of course, guys, our hero's father wanted him to follow in his footsteps so he could become a world-class gangster. And this was since our hero was young. He used to beat him very violently. And every time our hero fell to the ground, he would tell him to stand up so he could attack him again. And he would also beat him and knock him down again. This story used to happen every day until one time. And even though our hero couldn't look into his father's eyes, who always told him he had to be stronger, when he reached that day, he would have the gang tattoo on his body, which is the dragon. And of course, our hero's only target for his anger was the dragon's eyes in his father's tattoo. We return to the cell once again, and the guards enter, and one of them says, "You idiots, what are you doing? What's this? What happened? Young, did you do this?" Of course, the guard is shocked when he finds everyone in the cell beaten and lying on the floor. Our hero is standing in their midst and says to him, "Yes, I'm the one who did this." A bit later, we see our hero in solitary confinement sitting on the floor and looking at the picture of Yoon. And here he remembers when they were at school. Yoon says to him, "Did he get angry with you again? What kind of father beats his son like this on his first day of high school? This is really too much, honestly. He should be here with you to congratulate you." Young replies, "It's no problem. It's not the first time." Yoon continues, "No, this is a big deal. I'm going to go and talk to your father about this." Our hero tells her, "You promised me you wouldn't come to the house at all. If you don't keep that promise, then you'll have to call me brother for the rest of your life." Yoon replies, "You know how to calm people like me who don't have a home?" So our hero tells her that's not what he meant. And here Yoon looks at the school sign and says as they're leaving, "I'm going to Seoul. I'm sick of living in the orphanage. I suffered a lot in this neighborhood. I'll go to Seoul, graduate from a decent university, and get a job at a big company. And I'll drive a car, carry expensive bags, and live in the best apartment on the Han River." Our hero asks her, "What's this? Why have you become so materialistic?" Yoon laughs, so our hero looks at her, thinking that if she leaves, he'll be all alone here. So she says to him, "That's why you're coming with me, right? Let's make a promise." She takes his hand, hooks her pinky with his, and continues, "If you don't keep your promise to me, you'll have to call me sister for the rest of your life." Of course, our hero doesn't want to call her his sister at all. At that moment, a man carrying a camera comes and says to them, "You two look great together. How about I take a picture of you together?" And indeed, the man takes their picture, and it's the photo our hero keeps with him in prison. We return to solitary confinement, and our hero is hitting the wall, thinking that if he hadn't been in this place, Yoon wouldn't have come to visit him here. And he keeps punching the wall with all his might, and blood starts to drip from it. He feels that what happened to Yoon was because of him. Then the guard comes, calls out to him and says, "I'm sorry for what happened to you, but I can't stand to see this sight in front of me anymore. You haven't touched your food since yesterday. You need to calm down and eat. Life goes on, it doesn't stop." While hero sits on the floor, starts crying and says to him, "I'm sorry." And in the prison cafeteria, we see the inmates eating. Guillaume is sitting at the table and hears someone talking and saying, Did you hear the rumors? There's a guy named Young, and this kid beat up all his cellmates, and now he's in solitary confinement. His friend asks him why. So the first one continues. Apparently, the cell leader was mocking his girlfriend who died in a car accident, and it seems he lost control of himself. They all laugh at this story because Young is in a mess now. Then one of the inmates comes and reaches his hand toward the speaker, who says, that means there's a new cell leader now. But before he finishes, the inmate standing behind him slams his head into the food tray and says, what are you guys talking about without me? You seem very happy. Why don't you let me in on the joke? This inmate's name is Chan, and he continues, what's the story with the kid who became leader through rebellion? And why are you guys even talking about this anyway? Do you want to rebel against me? Of course, the inmates sitting at the table are terrified and tell him they won't do that at all, and no one would even dare to do that anyway. He takes his hand off the prisoner who was talking and asks, are you okay? The prisoner replies to him, I'm sorry, Chan. I shouldn't have said those things. Chan continues, okay, this kid's name is Young, right? A week later, we see the guard standing with our hero at the cell door saying, Young, the kid you beat up with his group is still in the hospital. We allowed you to come out after a week because of your special circumstances, but don't cause any trouble in the coming days. Understood? And here I'd like to tell you, by the way, guys, that the password for our episode today is Young. The cell door opens and our hero enters. Guillaume is sitting inside, looking at him, thinking that our hero managed to defeat the cell leader. Then the rest of the prisoners stand up and go toward our hero, and one of them says, are you okay? Now, I know the situation was tough for you, wasn't it? Solitary confinement is hard on anyone. Rest now. Would you like me to bring you water or give you a massage? Of course, they're all afraid of our hero after what he did to them and to Song. As for Guillaume, he's sitting writing in a notebook, thinking that he's realized something lately. Whether a person is in school, their family, or even their appearance and grades, all these factors are important. But here in prison, the most important thing is strength. Time passes, and we see Guillaume standing in the prison yard, holding a notebook in his hand. Our hero is standing near him, calls out to him, and says, why did you do that? Guillaume is surprised by his question, and our hero continues, on the day I was going to finish off the cell leader, why did you stop me? Even though you yourself went to prison after finishing off 7 people. Explain to me, why did you stop me? Guillaume is shocked by his words and remembers when he was in school at the time of his incident. The whole classroom is covered in blood, with students' bodies lying around him as he stands among them asking himself, why did I do that? Why? Our hero is about to answer his question, but at that moment Chan comes and says, are you young? You look younger than I expected. How can someone like you defeat Song? But anyway, that Song kid is weak and pathetic. So why did you do it? What made you rebel against him? Did you want to be the cell leader? Young replies coldly, get lost. I don't care about this at all. Chan is shocked by our hero's response, smiles and says to him, great, Young. You're a filthy kid and you know how to talk dirty, don't you? But you know what I hate most? Animals like you who don't know their place. And since Song didn't know how to teach you, I'll be the one to teach you. He knees our hero in the stomach, then grabs his head and prepares a punch to hit him in the face. He continues, now see what happens to the dog that dares to bite its master's hand. Just before he hits him, a guard passes by them and coughs while looking at them, so Chan realizes he can't do anything. And he says to the guard, oh, I'm just joking with him. The guard continues on his way and leaves. Then Chan lets go of our hero and says to him, you know, when you're a cell leader, you can fight as much as you want. And the excuse is that you're maintaining order. That's the rule in juvenile prison. So face me and do what you did to your leader, Song. He grabs him by his clothes again and punches him in the face. Then he throws him, and our hero hits the prison fence and falls to the ground. Chan continues, what's wrong, killer? Why are you acting like a dog now? If you keep acting like this, beating you won't be fun. And here, Chan rolls up his sleeve to reveal a new tattoo on his arm. Our hero looks toward him and is shocked when he sees the dragon tattoo. He remembers his father at that moment carrying him off the ground with the dragon tattoo on his chest. Chan says, it's clear from the way you talk that you're not afraid. Don't tell me you did that because of the car accident. And Chan raises his hand to strike our hero. But at that moment, our hero lands a kick to his face, sending him backward. But our hero doesn't let go. He grabs his arm, twists it, shoves Chan against the fence, slams him into it, and then steps on his face. Chan says, great, you animal, great. So our hero tells him to repeat what he said if he can. Chan is surprised by our hero's reaction, his face pressed against the fence. And here our hero presses hard on his head and tells him again to repeat what he said. Chan says, let me go, you animal, you're dead meat. But our hero presses down harder on his head and says, say what you said again. Then he grabs Chan's hand with both of his and breaks it. Chan screams, what are you doing? No. Of course, Guillaume stands watching, shocked by what's happening before him and what our hero is doing. who is still telling Chan to repeat what he's saying. And here our hero lifts his foot off Chen, whose face is marked by the fence. And of course, everyone, our hero was venting his anger on the tattoo that was on his father's chest. We go back in time a bit to the neighborhood where our hero used to live, and we see a neighbor saying, "I heard this boy's father works with gangs." The man next to her replies, "It seems he beat him again." This neighborhood has become really bad. Of course, our hero is coming back from school, thinking he must endure because it's the best he can do. He arrives at the front door and hears someone screaming inside, but he knows that voice very well. He opens the door and says, "What's going on?" His father replies, "You came at the right time. Look, son, isn't this your friend?" And we see Yoon lying on the floor. Our hero screams her name. His father continued, "This girl came here and started talking nonsense, saying she wouldn't let it slide if I laid a hand on you again, and that you're better off without a father like me. So I taught her a lesson." Our hero remembers when Yoon told him she would go and talk to his father, so our hero thinks that this submission isn't the best thing he can do. Here, his father looks at him and says, "Make her understand. If she talks that nonsense again, I'll send her to meet her ancestors." At that moment, our hero knew he couldn't take it anymore. He grabs the vase, runs to his father, and smashes it over his head. Then he sits on top of him and keeps hitting him. And at that point, his father was admitted to the hospital. We see the doctor standing with our hero in his father's room saying, "His condition is very critical. I'm sorry, but you could say the chance of him waking up is almost zero unless a miracle happens." Our hero stands before his father's bed and says to himself, "This is what you deserved." And we return to the prison again in the present time. And we see the prisoners gathering in the yard around our hero who was beating Chan. The prisoners talk about how our hero lost control even though he just got out of solitary and has now started causing trouble again. And we see Chan after his face was battered and his hand broken, lying on the ground and not moving. Here, the voice on the prison radio says that exercise time is over and everyone must return to their cell. In the warden's office, we see someone looking out the window saying, "This noise never stops in the prison. It seems there are many impulsive young men here." The warden, whose name is Seok, replies, "We've gotten used to this atmosphere, but I'm glad you're in good health. I heard you just got out of the hospital. If you have any problems, please let me know. We'll do our best to make sure you're comfortable, but you didn't tell me, who do you want to meet here?" We go to the cell now where our hero is, and we see them sitting on the floor without a word. And they're looking towards our hero, who's sitting silently looking at the floor. Ji-woo is holding a pen, looking at our hero and writing in a notebook. It seems like it's over for me. And now he and I are in the same cell, and I've become the insignificant one. And here the guard calls our hero and tells him to come out because he has a visitor. Our hero is shocked and goes out with the guard, wondering who could possibly come to see him, since his mother ran away when he was young and he has no contact with any of his relatives. But he's surprised when the visit is in the prison warden's office. He's very puzzled about who he's going to meet that's visiting him in the warden's office. And as soon as the door opens, our hero is shocked when he sees who's visiting him, and he says to him, "Finally we meet, young." At this moment, our hero remembers his father at home when he finished him off. The guest continues, "I'm glad to see you. And you had that energy a while ago. I mean, when you were on the field." And the truth, everyone, is that the guest is our hero's father, Kang. Our hero stands stunned, not believing his eyes that his father is still alive. And he says, "How are you?" But before he finishes, Seok approaches him, puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "What's wrong, son? You look very surprised. He woke up in the hospital not too long ago. A miracle, isn't it? You must be happy that your father is doing well." Our hero remembers the doctor's words when he told him that his father's chance of waking up was very slim unless a miracle happened. So he wonders how he even woke up. And here our hero's father, Kang, says, "I can't believe that the person who put me in this state, even though I'm the right hand of the great organization's leader, wasn't one of my enemies or even the police. But the one who did it was my son. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in the hospital and I felt a great sadness." And of course, here Kang starts to cry and continues, "That sadness was for you. And as a father, I wanted to meet you. I love you so much, son, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for you. But I had no choice but to finish off your girlfriend." And we go back to the moment of the accident when the car hits Yoon, and we see her after she falls to the ground with food around her, trying to speak and catch her breath, asking for help with great difficulty. But she's surprised when she finds Kang standing in front of her saying, What's wrong? It's like you've seen a ghost. You were saying that my son would be better off without me, weren't you? Even though parents give everything for their children. But after thinking about it, you won't understand this because you never had parents to begin with. And Kang walks away, leaving her lying on the road. And now we return to the prison warden's office in the present, and Kang continues his speech. "I thought you were just a useless fool. And you became the boy who listens and remains submissive all his life. But on the day the accident happened for the first time, I saw the true potential you have. And the key that solved your problem was that girl. And that's what made me erase her. That's why it was a very long road until we reached this stage. And the solution was to finish her off for you. Our hero looks towards the desk. And suddenly Seok says, "What are you doing? Get him!" We see our hero getting up and attacking his father to hit him. But before he reaches him, the police's electric wires enter his body and they shock him with tasers so he falls to the ground. We see the police surrounding him from all sides, and Seok continues, "Hold him tight." This whole thing scared me. Our hero looks toward his father, who is still being electrocuted. So Kang stands before him and says, "You want revenge and to finish off your father? Fine, I'll tell you the only way you can ever hope to finish me off. There's a group of our men right here in this prison. And right now, they only have the tattoos on their bodies. But some of them will become members of the organization in the future. You'll prove to me you're the best of them all and take control of this prison. If you can grow here and the organization notices you, the day will come when you can kill me. And then you'll surpass me and become the second in command as well. Prepare yourself to face the Dragon organization. You'll achieve something I couldn't in my entire life. And if you can do that, then my life will finally end because of you. Mr. Shock, could you please keep an eye on my son?" He replies to him, "Of course, don't you worry." At this point, the guards are surprised by the movement taking place, so Seok looks toward them and asks what just happened. We see our hero holding the electric wires without being affected, thinking that his father's words are empty and that he'll finish him off. We see him pulling the wires off and getting up to attack him again. Kang is already leaving the office and our hero runs after him to strike him. Naturally, the guards and Seok are shocked by what's happening. Our hero says to himself, "Today is the day that you are going to die." The moment our hero reaches the door, someone comes from behind, grabs his head, and says, "Forgive my rudeness, young master." Then this man slams our hero's head into the ground, and the guards are astonished by what just happened. The man continues while pinning our hero to the floor. "It is my duty to serve the boss." But here, our hero moves his legs and tries to get back up. The man wonders how he still has this strength just by using his legs, even though he himself is a leader in the Dragon organization. Then Kang says, "You're such a simple boy. Open your eyes wide and look around you. Do you really still not understand? It's impossible for you to even touch me." And this haste only leads to more trouble. "The only way you can finish me off is if you can take control of this prison. And I'm waiting for the moment we meet again, my son." Kang and his men then leave, leaving our hero lying on the floor. And then he stands up, leaning on his hand after his father has gone. We now go to the woodworking room and see Guillaume working with a hammer. One of the guards comes and tells him, "You've done your work for today. You can rest." Guillaume replies that he understands and hears one of the inmates nearby saying, "That Guillaume kid uses the hammer in a terrifying way. Could he have smashed the bullies' heads at school using that hammer? But you know, he doesn't look like a criminal at all." His companion replies while laughing, "Man, he's a loser. Forget about him." Another person enters the room and says he's brought the toolbox. So the guard tells him to put it on the shelf. The boy walks while carrying the box, and there's a tattoo on his body. As soon as he gets close to Guillaume, he drops the box on the floor. So the guard asks him why he dropped it. He replies, "I'm sorry, but I suddenly lost feeling in my hands." Guillaume is looking between his feet and finds a nail, and he's shocked when he sees it. Then the boy says, "You're Guillaume, aren't you?" "Finally, man. This is the first time we've seen each other since middle school." Actually, everyone. This boy's name is Min, and his charge is theft. Min continues, "I saw you on the news, and now here we are meeting once again. Do you remember me?" Guillaume answers, "Yes, of course, you're Min." Min replies, "Yeah, you know, there's something I've been wanting to ask you. That story in the news about you taking out 7 people, did you really do that? I still can't quite believe it. I mean, I can't imagine the Guillaume I knew in middle school doing something like that." Guillaume asks him what he means by that while holding a stick in his hand. Min answers, "Nothing in particular, but you were known for being a good student." Then the guard calls out to them, "You two, stop talking and get back to work." Min says, "Yes, sir," takes the toolbox, waves to Guillaume and says, "See you later, Guillaume." And here Guillaume looks toward the table, then looks at the stick in his hand, which has a nail in it, and because Guillaume was squeezing the stick, his hand gets cut. Time passes and night falls. Inside the cell, our hero sits thinking about his father telling him that to take him down, he must control the whole prison. So he asks himself, how am I going to start taking control? One of the inmates has his hand on his stomach and says, "I'm so hungry." The second one replies, "The food in this prison is all vegetables. It's so boring. How about we report the violence we're facing to the human rights organization?" The third one says, "Forget about that nonsense. You know what I'm craving right now? I want a slice of pizza. If I died after that, I'd die happy." The first one tells him, looks like you forgot you're in prison. He replies, that's why it's just a wish, you idiot. Quiet, quiet, the guard is coming. Of course, our hero is sitting there listening to them. He stands up, approaches the window, and calls the guard, who stops and asks if there's a problem. His cellmates are surprised. Why is he talking to the guard? Our hero says, there's no problem. But can we order some pizza? The guard replies, young, you seem to have forgotten you're in prison. Get out here right now, let's go. We see one of the inmates in the cell eating pizza and looking very happy. He and his cellmates are talking about how long it's been since they've had outside food and how this pizza tastes absolutely delicious. They thank our hero, who's thinking that he wasn't sure about this, but the warden and guards treat him specially because he's Kang's son. He wants to see how far this special treatment goes. He hears one of his cellmates say, is it Young? I mean, Mr. Young. What's his real identity? Is his father really a member of Congress? Our hero says to himself, to get my revenge, I have to control everything, even the fact that I'm that man's son. Then he hears another say, why is Guillaume acting like that? Hey, Guillaume, aren't you going to eat any pizza? The one next to him replies, leave the kid alone. He's been acting strange today. I don't know if something happened to him. Guillaume is sitting alone away from them, deep in thought. The next day in the workshop, Guillaume is working next to our hero and puts the box on the table. Suddenly, Min comes over carrying the toolbox and drops it like last time, saying, what's this? I can't carry this box. But this time, there's a box of nails on the crate that all fall on Guillaume. So Guillaume looks at the nails, and here Min continues, sorry, my hands just couldn't hold the box. Guillaume looks at him and says, Min, what are you doing right now? Then a group of prisoners arrives, and the big one among them says, what's this, Min? He's not like you said. He's even looking down on you. I mean, you said he was a high-level killer and you're subordinate, and I had my expectations. You were lying to me, saying he's the famous bully from your neighborhood. Min replies, what lie? This is Guillaume from my area, and I'm sure he remembers our beautiful memories. Right, Guillaume? Have you forgotten the beautiful memories between us? Well, if I do this, you'll remember the past. And here Min grabs Guillaume's head and brings it close to the table where a nail is standing. So Yum looks at him, and he remembers the past when Min locked him in a locker and set nails on the door, saying, why are you trembling like that, Guillaume? So Guillaume replies, please, Min, enough, please. Min laughs at him and says, what's wrong? What are you saying? I can't hear you very well from here. Guillaume begs him to let him out of the locker, and Min continues, don't say that, because the real fun starts now, and we'll start counting. 1, 2, 3. Min is holding a hammer and starts hitting the nails. And Guillaume is standing inside the locker, terrified with every nail strike that pushes it inward. And we return to the present in the workshop where Guillaume is trembling, his head close to the nail. Here Min says, well, do you remember now? The big guy replies and laughs. Is this loser trembling? He looks really scared. Min grabs some nails in his hand and says, guys, do you really believe a coward like him could finish anyone off? He points his hand with the nails at Guillaume's face. But here Guillaume grabs his hand and the nails immediately fall to the floor. The men are surprised by what happened, and Min is shocked by Guillaume's reaction, who says, do you want me to teach you how to finish someone off? At that moment, the guard calls them and says, you two, the break is over. Everyone back to their places and work. So he pulls his hand away and says, get your hand off me. Afterwards, they leave the place, talking about how much more fun it would have been. And of course, Min leaves the place with his eye on Guillaume, saying, this is so disgusting and annoying as usual. After a while in the cell, our protagonist's cellmates leave, and he and Guillaume are left alone. So our protagonist says, thank you. If you hadn't stopped me last time, I'd be spending 10 years here in prison now. Guillaume replies, before you were complaining that I stopped you. What made you change your mind? He replies, because now I have an important reason to get out of this place. Because the person who finished off my girlfriend is my father, and I have to meet him. Guillaume continues, I thought your father was in a coma and wouldn't wake up from it. So Young says to him, it's a long story. Anyway, thank you. I might get out of here soon. Guillaume looks at him and says, are you joking? I mean, you're saying this to someone who's going to spend 20 years of his life in prison. Our protagonist gets confused. No, I don't mean it like that. But what I want to say is that I'll return this favor. So Guillaume says to him, no problem. Time passes and we see Guillaume in the workshop room. And the workshop supervisor is giving him a key and saying, here, Guillaume, this is the workshop key. I'm sorry, but something happened at my house and the workshop must be in your care today. Good luck. Guillaume tells him he understands. And he looks at the table and finds a moth on it. He remembers that moment from when he was 11, showing him the collection of butterflies he'd preserved. Back then, Guillaume told him, I don't like insects, they're really gross, and that includes butterflies too. Min says to him, Guillaume, you're acting like such a scaredy cat. Of course, everyone. To Guillaume, Min was his very first friend. One time in class, a group of students were talking about how gross Min was for collecting insects. One of them approaches and asks, "Are you collecting those just so you can eat them?" Min tells him, "Of course not." But the boy continues, "You're lying. I know that's how you get all the protein you need. How about I feed you with my own hands? Come on, open your mouth." Just then, Gayam walks in and says, "That's enough. I know you're bored, but everyone needs to get back to their seats." The students get scared, and one of them says, "That's the class president. He could punish us." "And we're sorry, President. Please forgive us." They leave Min alone, and Guillaume approaches him to ask if he's okay. He replies, "Yes, thank you. By the way, you're coming over to my house, right?" Then his other classmates call out to him, saying they're playing a soccer match against the kids from class 4 after school. Guillaume replies, "I'm busy today." They try to convince him, of course, as Guillaume recalls this situation. He wonders to himself, realizing back then he didn't know that he and Min were growing up in such different ways. Indeed, the following year, they were both in different classes. As Gayam was passing by Min's classroom, he noticed his seat was empty and assumed he'd gone home. But then he hears two people talking about a rumor that the loser Min was being mocked and even beaten by bullies. They had taken him to the school storage room. Guillaume rushes there and enters the storage room, calling out for Min and asking the students there about him. One of them looks at him and answers, "You mean the loser? Who knows where he is right now?" Suddenly, Guillaume hears Min's voice saying, "He's standing right behind you," as he pushes him into the storage room. Guillaume is shocked and asks, "Min, what are you doing?" At that moment, Min shoves him into a locker and locks it, while the bullies say, "Great job. You really managed to catch that insect well." The one next to him adds, "I told you this kid was seriously crazy." The first one approaches and says, "I told you that you had to offer up your most precious insect to join us." "So is this the most precious insect to you?" Guillaume screams from inside the locker, "Min, let me out." "Why are you doing this?" He replies, "Be patient, Guillaume, because when I catch an insect, I need to preserve it while it's still alive." We return to the present time with Gayam in the workshop. At that moment, Min walks in, grabs a butterfly, and says, "Moths and butterflies are both insects, but people hate one and not the other. And that's a lot like me. And it's all because of you." Then Min crushes the butterfly in his hand. Guillaume responds to him, "What do you mean by saying everything is because of me?" Min continues, "Stop acting like you don't know what I'm talking about. You act like a saint, pretending to care about me as a friend. But in secret, you were planning to distance yourself and betray me. Did you think I wouldn't understand what was going on in your head? I'm the disgusting moth, but you were the butterfly that everyone loved. When I realized how you truly felt about me, it made every day feel like it could be my last. That's a heavy burden, and you're the one who pushed me to this point. You're the one who threw yourself into the abyss of your own free will. And all of this happened when I heard the news that you're a killer who finished off 7 people. I felt an incredible happiness. I felt that justice was finally served. Understand?" Guillaume trembles, and we see blood dripping from his hand as he says, "What is this delusion you're living in? Because of you, I..." But here, Min interrupts him and says, "It doesn't matter if you're living in a delusion or not. Your life is completely ruined, and now you'll turn to dust and vanish into thin air." At that moment, 2 people come and grab Guillaume from behind, covering his mouth, and one of them says, "I knew you weren't normal when you bribed the guard, but you turned out to be quite fun, Min." Min replies, "Just wait, because when I catch an insect, I have to mummify it first." They take the poor guy toward the locker in the room, so Guillaume tries to speak and escape from them. Min continues, "Because of you. All of this was because of you, Guillaume." They lock Guillaume inside the locker and secure it with a chain. And Guillaume says, "Do you think I'll be fooled twice?" Min replies, "You reminded me. I've prepared a gift for you inside. These are my insect friends." And we see the insects starting to crawl on Guillaume's body, who is shocked when he sees them, but he remains standing in place. Min continues and asks, "What do you think, Guillaume? Do you like them? What is this? Why is there no reaction? Even butterflies used to scare him before. Is he really trying to control himself?" And we see Guillaume holding back as the insects crawl on his body, and the men outside are talking. How? He's holding it together until now and isn't crying. One of them says, "Min, are you sure about this? This man went to prison for a murder charge." Min says to them, "You're saying murder? So what?" The man says to him, "Seriously, you're a crazy person." Min replies, "Wait for me, I'm just getting started." And now we'll hear him screaming, and it will be as if his vocal cords are being torn apart. At that moment, our hero enters among them and says, "How?" Those present are startled by the way he entered, and our hero continues, "Regarding the screaming you're talking about, how exactly are you going to make him do that?" And our hero grabs one of them by the neck and presses on his shoulder, knocking him to the ground. Of course, this man screams very loudly, so another one attacks our hero and says to him, "What do you think you're doing, you animal?" But here our hero Young kicks him in the face, sending him flying and hitting the locker and says, "Or are you going to make him scream like this?" Min and the large man are standing shocked as they watch what's happening. And here our hero calls out to Gyum and says to him, I told you I'd return the favor, right? Now we're even. Our hero stands in front of Min and cracks his knuckles. And we go back a bit in time to when our hero was in the cell, and one of his cellmates says, Where's Gyom? The one next to him replies. The workshop supervisor asks to meet him to ask about a few things. The first one asks, Is it possible at this late hour? And here, our hero stands up, goes toward the window, and calls out to the guard. So the guard looks at him and says, You again? His cellmates whisper if he's going to order pizza again. Or maybe this time he'll order chicken for them. So Young says, Open the door. His cellmates are shocked by the request. And the guard is surprised and says to him, What did you say? And we return to the workshop again. And our hero is standing next to the locker. And the large man says, You're Young, the one who's been causing trouble lately. Min looks toward our hero, smiles, and says to him, I wasn't sure when I saw Gyom and his reaction, but now I understand. You two are close to each other, aren't you? It must be great, Guillaume, to have great friends you can rely on. I wish I had a friend like him. The large man approaches our hero and says to him, Young, you're very loyal. I like that kind of talk. How about you be my friend? He raises his hand to strike our hero, but our hero kicks him, grabs him by the neck, and flips him onto his head. He replies, You want me to be your friend? I'd rather die than be your friend. And you, Blondie? Why are you doing this? You've gone too far, by the way. Min says to him, I've gone too far? Are you kidding me? Because of that traitor in the locker, I've lived a life of pain and misery. He pretended to be my only friend since childhood, but he didn't care about me. He was sneaky and betrayed me, dragging me down to finish me off like a snake. So I'm warning you, as long as you're with Ji-Yoom, only turn your back to a wall. At that moment, the giant stands behind our hero, grabs his neck, and says, Think you can beat me easily? Everything was planned up to this very moment. Min tells him, Crush his head and let's be done with him. The giant asks, What do you think now? Want to be my friend? Of course, our hero is struggling against the giant's strength, thinking his arm is incredibly strong. This is no joke, and he can't escape his grip like this. But at the same time, he knows he'll break his finger, so he can't use it again. Our hero grabs the giant's finger, but then Min runs over and stabs him in the stomach, saying he's scored a point. The giant replies, Min, you really are a great friend. Then the giant tightens his grip on our hero's neck, who feels like he can't breathe. At that moment, Ji-Yoom says, Don't move or your head's coming off. He's put a chain around the giant's neck, who's shocked to see him and wonders when he got out of the locker. Remember when our hero knocked one of the men toward the locker? Then our hero moves and strikes Min in the face, knocking him to the ground. Afterward, he catches his breath and says, I was about to suffocate. Ji-Yoom is tightening the chain on the giant, who says, You have no chance against my strength. The giant starts moving forward and Min says, That's it, keep going forward. Ji-Yoom says, I told you if you move and I pull hard, your head will pop. We see him stepping on the opponent's neck with his foot on his head, and the giant is unable to catch his breath. Ji-Yoom continues, calm down or you'll die. Then the giant loses consciousness, so Ji-Yoom lets go and he falls to the ground. Ji-Yoom catches his breath as our hero stands before him. Ji-Yoom looks toward Min and approaches him. So Min says, Wait a second, I'm the victim here. All of this was your fault. I was just defending myself. I didn't do anything wrong. As soon as Ji-Yoom stands before him, Min falls to the ground, kneels, and says, I'm sorry. Forgive me, Ji-Yoom. I didn't know how I'd do this. You know me, right? I've always been a failure and stupid. Just consider this a mistake by a fool. Please, just this once. He replies, You're wrong. I never thought of you that way at all. You're a victim of your own selfish mindset. You ruined my life and I couldn't change a thing. I've finished off 7 people and I'm thinking of doing the same to you. But seeing you now, I understand. I don't hate you that much because we were friends. Ji-Yoom leaves him and walks away. So Min sits remembering when he and Ji-Yoom were young, thinking to himself, This is nonsense. And you, Ji-Yoom, are just a curse. Just wait and see what I'll do. But before he can finish his thought, our hero jumps and hits him in the head, flipping him to the ground where Min lies motionless. Then our hero says, Now we can say we're even. Gayum is surprised by our hero's reaction and recalls when they were alone in the cell. Young says, Anyway, I wanted to ask you something. Are you stupid? Guillaume is surprised and asks him, What are you talking about? Young continues, You finished off 7 people and now you're afraid of a tiny insect. So Guillaume tells him that he wasn't afraid. Our hero replies, I know, but I don't know what kind of bad history was between you two. But at least you're not considered a despicable enemy. We go back to the workshop and our hero is holding his wound and asks Guillaume, Are you still here? Guillaume replies, Young, thank you. Our hero asks him, Why are you talking like that? Suddenly they hear someone's voice. So our hero looks behind him and finds a man standing next to him saying, Min, you! Why did you leave the cell without my permission? Do you know how scared I was? There was a cockroach there and no one was around to catch it. I was absolutely terrified. Of course, this person grabs Min and keeps punching him in the face in a terrifying way. After completely mangling his face, he stands up, wipes the blood off his own face, and says, "My face is covered in blood. I don't like getting dirty like this." There are germs everywhere. He approaches our hero, grabs his t-shirt, and wipes his face with it. Our hero stands there, shocked by what he's doing. Then the man looks at our hero and asks him, "What's the situation now? Is my face clean now?" Our hero replies, "No, it's very filthy." The man says to him, "What did you say?" "I'm filthy?" And he raises his hand to strike our hero. But at that moment, the workshop supervisor enters and shouts, "If you finished your work, everyone get back to your cell immediately. What do you think you're doing?" The man leans in close to the number on our hero's t-shirt and keeps repeating the number over and over. The next day in the yard, our hero is sitting and asks, "Why are you all gathered around me like this?" "We're not in the cell right now." One of them, whose name is Namin, replies, "Why are you asking?" "It's because of you, Yong." There's a group standing nearby talking about our hero, saying he's the one who broke the other boy's hand. Namin continues, "Rumors say you're insanely strong, and since you're here, no one dares to come near us to pick a fight." Yong replies, "Do whatever you want, just don't annoy me." Of course, our hero is thinking that there are things he must do, which is to look for people with the dragon tattoo surrounded by red flowers. He looks around, wondering where the members of this cursed organization could be. So Namin asks him what he's looking for. Our hero replies, "I'm looking for something." Namin continues and says, "Tell me what it is and I'll find it for you." "You know, people call me an information hacker." Young answers, "I'm looking for a tattoo, a filthy tattoo." Time passes and we see our hero and his cellmates watching television. The announcer says, "Juvenile crime has begun to increase. These groups form gangs to steal money and valuables, and acts of violence and serious crimes are rising among students." And here our hero says, "Those criminal dogs should be thrown in prison for 100 years until they rot." His cellmates look at him, very surprised why he's saying this. He replies, "Not everyone who goes to prison is bad, and you know that." Then Namin, standing to the side, says, "How about I tell you my story and what brought me here? Once, there was a legendary place that made teokbokki. It was in our neighborhood, and I used to buy rice cakes there. The sauce was on a whole other level. But one day, the local congressman's son came by. He was a wild, reckless kid who acted like a thug because of his father's influence. That day, he entered the shop and ordered food with his men standing around him. Since he didn't like the dish, he grabbed a stick and started beating people with his men, and they trashed the whole place. At that moment, I stepped in and stopped him, ending the fight between us after I beat them all up and became the hero who protects this restaurant. But that lowlife used his father's connections and threw me here in prison. But I don't regret a thing." So one of the guys there says he's back to talking his nonsense again. "Young, do you know what Namin's nickname is? He lies so much that they used to call him the Deceptive Sieve. He even got beaten for lying when he was in the old cell, and he's still lying even now." Namin replies, "What are you talking about? Everything I just said actually happened." One of them says, "Yeah, your imagination is still working overtime." "There's no way I'm believing that." Then our hero says, "Actually, it doesn't look like he's lying." Namin is shocked when he hears our hero's words and thinks about how there are two types of insects, aphids and ants, since the aphid gives the ant sugar and the ant protects the aphid. This is somewhat similar to the relationship with bullies, meaning a manipulative person who prefers to stay close to the bullies. And that was the life he lived in that way. That's why Namin sees that the real leader of the cell is Yong. He feels like he's impressed by his intelligence, and that if he becomes his right-hand man, his time in prison will be easy and he'll be able to live a pleasant life. Here we see him working in agriculture at the prison farm, laughing as he thinks these thoughts. Suddenly, the crazy man who hates filth comes along, approaches him, and says while putting his hand on his face, "What's this? Is there filth on my face?" Namin is shocked when he sees him and remembers when he was in the cell with him. Back then, that madman hit him and said, "I'm dirty now, and I'm going to clean your filthy mouth with my own hand." And we go back to the farm again. The madman says while scratching his face, "Insects and bacteria on my face." Namin is startled and says to himself, "This crazy devil with OCD. Why is he here?" He replies to the man, "I'm sorry. I'm so stupid for not looking behind me." The man asks him in a terrifying way, "Is my face clean now?" He answers him, "Yes, of course, it's very clean." He knows that if he tells him it's dirty, his day won't end well. And here, the man raises the pesticide sprayer and says to him, "Really? I'll forgive you this time." And he sprays the pesticide on Namin's face, who screams from the pain and burning in his face as the pesticide gets into his eyes. The man continues, "Honestly, I want to ask you for something. Number 7199. You're in the same cell as him. Namin sits on the ground and remembers that the owner of that number is Yong. The man says, that guy said my face was dirty. I mean, after all the suffering I went through to make it clean, and you know about that, don't you? So you have to do what I tell you. Purification. And he gives the sprayer to Namin, and a dragon tattoo appears on the man's chest. A little later, our hero is training in the cell, thinking about where the organization members with the dragon tattoos are. He wants to see one of them. But at that moment, Namin walks in and says, this exercise works the back and chest muscles and is considered an art. You must have been very tired before you came here. Here, drink some grape juice and finish your workout. You need to take glucose after every workout. Our hero stands up, takes the cup from him, and thanks him. He looks at it and says to him, hey kid, who gave you the stuff in this cup? We go back in time a bit to when Namin was in his old cell and his cellmates were holding him down. The crazy guy, the cell leader, says to him, how could you do this? Because of your lies. My face is now filthy, and your mouth that speaks such filth must be cleaned. That's why it needs to be purified. He opens a bottle of bleach and pours it into Namin's mouth, who gets poisoned and faints. The crazy guy sits there asking himself, what should I do now? This situation has turned bad. The floor has become so dirty. Of course, this cell, everyone, was nothing but a living hell for Namin. We return to our hero's cell after he asked him about the thing he brought him. Namin answers, no one brought it for me. I bought it with my own money, of course. His cellmates gather around him, and one of them says, you're acting suspicious. Don't tell me you've put contraband or something like that in there. I think you should drink from it first. Our hero replies, why are you giving me this all of a sudden? Namin is terrified, wondering if our hero has started to suspect him. But this is normal because our hero heard from his cellmates that Namin deceives people. It's just his nature. Suddenly, our hero puts the cup to his mouth, drinks it, and says, it tastes good. Thank you. Don't forget, everyone, tomorrow is cleaning day, so everyone get ready. Namin is shocked and says to himself, what just happened? If I had known he'd drink it right away, I would have put the pesticide in the juice. But then he remembers when our hero said he doesn't lie, and he feels like he was about to make a huge mistake. Time passes, night falls, and we see a hero drawing a picture of a dragon in his notebook. Namin approaches him and says, you draw really well. What are you drawing? Our hero tells him he's drawing a dragon surrounded by red roses. Of course, Namin tries to get close to our hero so it won't look later like he was the one who poisoned his drink. He decides he wants to analyze his psyche to find a way to give him the pesticide without anyone knowing. Here, Young continues, I want to see all the dogs who have that tattoo. Do you have something you want to say? Namin replies, to be honest, I've been curious for a while. Young, why do you trust me so much? I mean, you should be suspicious of liars like me at first. Because trusting people so recklessly like that will get you into trouble. Of course, Namin is surprised by what he's saying. So Young replies, since you're good at deceiving people, that means you're smart. And a smart man wouldn't want me as an enemy over a stupid lie. Guys, I'm turning off the lights. Everyone needs to go to sleep. Namin keeps staring at him. Then he looks at the drawing and says, a smart man just like you said. The next day, we see the guards standing in the hallway, and one of them says, they said the Ministry of Justice is coming to inspect today. I want you all to clean thoroughly. The prisoners cleaning the hallway all reply, yes, sir. We go to the bathrooms and see Namin standing there, terrified. The crazy guy is standing in front of him saying, you said you'd do it. You promised me you'd purify him. And now you're backing out. Namin thinks to himself that he shouldn't have said that to the crazy guy. He answers, I asked Young, and he's very sorry for calling you, that word. He's a bit introverted, so he asked me to apologize to you. The man gets angry and says to him, you're lying again. Haven't you had enough of lying? And he punches him in the stomach. Namin hits the wall and falls in front of the crazy guy, who continues, I cannot forgive. 7,199. I can't forgive him. And I won't forgive you either. He hits him while he's on the ground in the face and steps on his head. He says, well, in that case, I'll have to purify you myself. He opens the bleach bottle while stepping on Namin's head, who is slumped over the toilet. Water is pouring over his head, and he's struggling to say, help me. With his head underwater and unable to breathe, he feels like he's dying. At that moment, our hero, Young, enters the bathroom and says, what are you doing in the bathroom, you filthy man? Did you hear me? You are very filthy. The crazy man looks at him, wide-eyed and in total shock. Namin tries to call out to our hero, saying, why did you take so long? Let's go back a bit before this. Our hero was working in the hallway cleaning up. At that moment, Namin approached him and said he had something to report. So our hero asked him what that thing was. Namin answered him, someone threatened me and said I must make you drink this pesticide. But I was born a man and I can't betray a friend who is close to me. I don't care about any threats, even if the outcome is terrible. I'm going to go and refuse right now. Of course, he opens the pesticide bottle and throws it on the ground. He leaves our hero and walks away, but then stops and continues. I forgot to tell you that the dragon tattoo I drew, I think it was on the body of the man who threatened me. Our hero is shocked as soon as he hears this information. And of course, Namin intended to tell him those words. This is because our hero considers him to be smart. Now we go back to the bathroom. Our hero responds to Namin saying to him, "Look how dirty my hand has become. But you know, being smart is a cursed problem." Our hero approaches the man and wipes his hand on his clothes. The man goes crazy and says, "You germ-filled animal, you 7,199. I'll finish you off, cut you into pieces, and dissolve every part of your body." But here our hero grabs him by his shirt, lifts him up, and throws him to the ground. He says, "You're really annoying, aren't you? And you send someone you're threatening just to finish me off. But I'm very lucky, and now I'll hit you without feeling any guilt." Of course, our hero wants to hit him because this man has a dragon tattoo on his body. The truth is, folks, there was once a rising star in martial arts with very unique moves. This star was able to grab his opponent by the body and squeeze him. Because of this move, he could stop the opponent from moving his hands so much that he couldn't surrender or escape. But the opponent couldn't take it and vomited on him. Since that day, no one has ever seen that move performed again. You see, the rising star who did those dirty moves had a serious weakness for a wrestler, germophobia. We return to the bathroom where our hero is sitting on top of the man, that same rising star. He says, "Hey, you obsessed kid, are you just going to lie there and do nothing? Tell me about this dragon story." The man replies, "The floor is filthy. It's full of germs. My body is touching it. What is this filth?" He tries to get up, but our hero hits him in the face, knocking him back down, and continues, "Are you worried about this story?" Namin is hiding behind the door, watching everything that's happening. He thinks our hero is hitting the man like he's swatting a fly, and he's glad to be on his side. The man replies, 7,199. I will finish you. Young says, "It seems you don't understand. I don't like this situation either because it's very disgusting. But I think I have to use the shock therapy method. Open your mouth and say, ah." Our hero puts his hand in the toilet water and brings it near the man's mouth, who is shocked. He remembers a time when he finished training, all sweaty and wanted to shower quickly, so he opened his locker. And right then, trash falls out of the locker onto the floor. The man screams at the top of his lungs, "This is trash!" Then a man appears behind him, grabs him, slams him down, and says, "Remember me, you animal? They said you have a germ phobia and that you can't control yourself at all because of it. And since you can't get out of this situation, then it must be true. Do you know the humiliation I felt after what happened in the ring, you piece of trash? Open your mouth, kid. I'm going to shove my hand down your throat." The wrestler who returned picks up a piece of trash from the floor and is about to put it in his mouth. But then the man gets angry and says, "No, this is filthy, and it'll make me filthy too." I won't let him. I'll keep hitting him until his whole stomach is knocked out of place. We see him saying this to our hero, and he actually manages to grab his hands, lift them up, and flip him. Then the man locks his legs around our hero's waist, who can't seem to take it anymore. The man leans in close and says, "Now, I'm going to keep squeezing you until you explode." And indeed, our hero is struggling to endure it. Namin looks out from the bathroom where he's hiding and thinks to himself, should I help him? But if things keep going like this, but before he can finish, he hears our hero say with difficulty, "This reminds me of the old days." And of course, everyone, we know that our hero's father used to always choke and beat him. This happened every single day, with or without a reason. Because of this, our hero learned to fight, as his father choked him so hard he almost broke his bones. And here, our hero Young continues, "Seriously, this memory is disgusting." He twists his arms, escapes, grabs him, and pins him down. He pulls him to the ground and says, "But really, thanks for that memory. I'm used to fighting with my hands while I'm on the ground. And you know, I'm also annoyed, and I really need to use the bathroom." Our hero twists the man's arms, pulling harder while pinning him with his legs, and continues, "So, who's going to explode first? Me or your spine snapping in half?" He presses even harder. A crack sounds from the man's back, and he screams out loud. The man taps our hero's body, and our hero is surprised, asking, "Are you tapping out to surrender? But you know, nobody ever taught me about that." The man looks at him in shock, not knowing what to do next. We return to the prison hallway where the inmates are busy cleaning. In the bathroom, the man is tied up. Namin puts a funnel in his mouth and says, "Stay still, Young. This idiot is still resisting. Why is it so hard for him to understand what we're saying? Aren't we all around the same age? It seems shock therapy is the only solution and we have to do it." Our hero puts his hand to his head, sighs, then reaches for his pants and says, "I really didn't want to. But of all the things I could do, this is the one with the strongest shock value." Our hero stands before the man, preparing to relieve himself into his mouth. Namin grabs the man by his head and tells him, "Open your mouth and say, ah." Our hero says, "I wonder what it tastes like." And the man screams, but he can't do anything. And after a while, Namin removes the funnel from the man's mouth and tells him, "Now we can communicate well." Young continued, now you'll be able to talk and answer my questions. Tell me everything you know about the dragon organization. The man starts telling everything he knows and tells them that when he was getting the tattoo on his body, there was a girl who was tattooing him. She told him this tattoo is done using a needle that we put under the skin and inject the ink. Look, rookie, I heard you have a phobia of germs, so don't worry, this needle is sterile, and I'll draw a very beautiful tattoo for you, which is the dragon with the red rose. Do you know the reason why a huge organization accepts youngsters like you? Because the dragon represents strength and durability, and the rose symbolizes vitality and life. But it doesn't matter how beautiful the roses are when they bloom, because in the end, they will wither and fall to the ground. As for the dragon, it looks for the seeds that will grow and become the new generation. The youngsters and rookies have potential that the adults don't have, because they depend on the environment and the experiences they go through, and they can grow in a great way. We discover these talents early, and we take very good care of them, and we plant them inside an organized garden. Then the seeds will grow this way and bloom and become beautiful roses for the dragon. And we go back to the bathroom, and the man says, this is all I know. I'm just a low-ranking member in the organization. Please let me go now. Our hero thought that this is the reason why his father gave him all this terrible training since he was young, to make him a rose that blooms early and also bloom quickly before anyone else. Namin approaches and calls out to our hero, but the man continues speaking. But why are you asking about the organization? Is it possible you want to join the dragon organization too? 7,199? Are you daring to challenge the dragon organization? Or maybe that's the reason why you're being so easy on me. If you join the organization through me, I can put in a good word for you. Our hero smiles and grabs him by the neck, startling the man who says, why are you doing this all of a sudden? I told you everything. Our hero replies while hitting him, shut up, man. I've run out of patience. Now we go to the hallway and see the prisoners still cleaning. And our hero has gone back to cleaning with them, and the area he's cleaning needs some bleach. He looks back to find Namin bringing him a bottle of bleach, bowing before him and saying, here you go, young. So our hero asks him what's up. He replies, thank you for finishing off that crazy animal with the phobia. I think I can sleep in peace now. Our hero answers, I didn't finish him off. Besides, when you were in the last cell, he was torturing you with this bleach. Usually those tortured with bleach die, right? But you stayed alive. Namin gets flustered and says, no. Those who are subjected to bleach torture have foam coming out of their mouths. That's why I tricked them and put soap and water instead of bleach. Honestly, I lied about that because I wanted to go to another cell and had everything ready from the start. Because the idea of that man being crazy or getting angry was honestly terrifying. Our hero is shocked by his words and says, anyway, no need to thank me because you helped me find the tattoo. Namin continued, yes, you told me you were looking for the tattoo, but I found out that this tattoo belongs to a terrifying organization called the Dragon. Why are you looking for information related to it? Young replies, I'm going to finish them all off. And now I've finished off too. And very soon, I'll be able to find the rest. Namin tells him, there are many people in the juvenile prison and many of them have tattoos. But there's something special about these people. Our hero thinks for a bit and says, so these two were the cell leaders. In that case, we must look for the leaders in every cell. Namin replies, there's no need to do that. Next week, there will be a meeting between all the leaders because it's the day of the leaders gathering. Our hero is surprised by this name, and Namin continues, you don't know about this day. Every 3 months, the leaders gather in a wing to strengthen their relationships, but the real reason is the things that happen inside the prison and the illegal activities. And this meeting is known as the criminal gang meeting. And if you go there and gather with all the cell leaders, you must be very careful. So our hero asks him why. So he says to him, you haven't forgotten, right? These young criminals are from every country and are gathered here. And also, one of them is considered the most dangerous. So don't go to this meeting. A week later, we see the leaders gathered in the wing, and one of them, with white hair, says, the Kid-chan and the OCD animal were defeated, weren't they? I heard that the person who did that to them is someone named Young. Now I'm very curious to know him. Another one replies that he's also curious to know him. The third says, we must teach him a lesson. Let's beat him like a dog. A huge guy holding a book smiles and says, please, brother, control your anger. Let peace prevail. At that moment, the door opens and our hero enters, grabbing the shovel next to the door and saying, it turned out to be very easy to see you guys, because I went through all this trouble for nothing. Here, our hero breaks the shovel and jumps quickly among them, reaching one of them and pointing the broken stick at him. And of course, everyone present is shocked by what just happened. So our hero says, what are the men's seeds doing here? I'm going to deal with all of you right here. We go back a bit in time, where the prisoners are working on an excavation near the prison. Our hero and Ji-yoom are sitting together with Namin, who says, Ji-yoom, today is our friend Young's day because he's going to the leaders' meeting. Say something to encourage him. Ji-yoom is surprised and asks about what Namin is saying, and our hero replies, I don't have any knowledge of the details. Namin laughs and continues, all right, let me explain the situation to you. This leaders' meeting is a gathering where information is exchanged between the leaders. And of course, it's directly approved by the prison warden. I'm sure you've seen this kind of thing in movies. But these aren't just ordinary thugs. I've heard they're like massive criminal organizations. Ji-yoom looks toward our hero and says, I hope you have a good meeting and take care of yourself. Namin is shocked and says, is that all you could say? Speak from the heart. Anyway, the place is dangerous with very dangerous people, and there's no way out, so don't cause trouble no matter what. We return to the leaders' meeting, and the man our hero is threatening speaks. What did you say about the seeds? Young replies, I'm going to clean up all these filthy seeds. What are you doing? Come on, stand up and face me. Of course, everyone. This man has a dragon tattoo on his neck. He looks at our hero and replies, no thanks, I'm not interested. Our hero is surprised by his coldness, and the man continues, a cell leader can use violence, but under the pretext of maintaining order, and it seems from your actions that you're relying on that method. But it seems you've missed the most important part. In the recent fights where you faced the three leaders, you crushed them all. And there might be reasons that justify accepting those fights. And that's usually referred to as a justification. Do you understand me? I mean, a fight between us now would have no benefit or reason for me, so I have no justification or answer for your request and question. Nevertheless, if you insist on acting recklessly with your hands and violating prison rules, then the other leaders from the other cells won't let you leave here alive. So, are you still thinking of stabbing me with what's in your hand? Our hero thinks that if he acts recklessly, he'll indeed become a target for the other leaders, and that's exactly what he expected. If he makes everyone turn against him in prison, his chance of getting out safely will be very slim. Not to mention the idea of controlling the place, which would be ruined. He realizes afterward that this approach was reckless, but he had to try to be sure about it. The man stands up, approaches him, and says, So, are you done with this embarrassing farce? You weren't planning on stabbing me from the start, were you? It's clear from your actions that you're an enemy of the Dragon organization, but don't you know your place? It's truly disappointing. He then walks away, leaving our hero behind. At that moment, the meeting begins, and a man wearing glasses and carrying a notebook enters saying, All right, let's start the leaders' meeting. First of all, unfortunately, some people didn't show up for the meeting, namely Sung, Chan, and Jeon, and all three of them have serious injuries. The large man says, That's truly unfortunate. The man with glasses continues, and the cause of all these incidents is Young, the new leader of cell number 36. One of the leaders asks, So this is the person the rumors are talking about? He looks decent enough? I wonder which gang he belongs to. Our hero looks around and sees that there are 15 leaders gathered here. At first glance, he doesn't see anyone with a dragon tattoo except for one person, the one who attacked him as soon as he entered the wing. And here the guy with glasses approaches him and says, Young, do you have anything to say as the new cell leader? Young replies, What's the big deal about being a cell leader? I want to see what it actually means to be a leader. One of the leaders gets angry and says, This filthy guy is so rude. The guy with glasses continues, Okay, let's talk about the second topic. The sources of income managed by the cell leaders inside the prison, known as the shops. A portion of the profits from these shops is handed over to the prison warden. But there's one person who hasn't paid the required amount for this quarter. And that's Juan, the owner of the gambling shop. Juan, the one with the dragon tattoo, replies, It seems there was a mistake regarding my portion. I'll make sure it's delivered by the end of the day today. The guy with glasses thanks him. Then, the white-haired man approaches Juan and says, By the way, there's a strange rumor going around that all the high-stakes games in the gambling shop, which are supposed to be based on trust and fairness, are actually a scam. Juan replies, Everyone knows what would happen if I were caught doing that. I would never do such a thing. And if it turns out there's a scam happening in the gambling shop, then you can have my head. They then continue talking about the rest of their business dealings. Time passes and the meeting concludes. We then head over to the gambling shop, where people are busy playing. This shop, everyone, is located in the vocational training center for car maintenance. We see a guy named Yoon Ho, a dealer at the shop, saying, Is this your first time at the gambling shop? The games here are simpler than in regular shops, and each table has a different game. But since it's your first time, I recommend the easiest one, which is dice. You'll find it quite fun. Our hero, sitting across from him, replies, Really? So, maybe I could try a round of dice? Of course, he thinks this game isn't fun at all, and at that moment he remembers Juan telling him he'd be the one getting hurt if he tried to stab him. But those words had the opposite meaning. especially since Juan said if there was a scam in his shop, they'd have the right to take his head. This means our hero needs a justification to crush Juan or take his head. And with just that justification, our hero can do anything. Here, he slams the dice on the ground with his hand. Yunho is shocked and asks, "What are you doing now?" Young says to him, "Don't you see? There's a magnet inside this die, you scumbag. This is a scam." The truth is, everyone, this is supposed to be a juvenile detention center whose mission is to rehabilitate young criminals so they can become good members of society. That's how it appears to the outside world. But since Seyok took over as warden, the place has turned into a crime hub because of the income sources managed by the cell leaders, known as the shops, inside the prison. A portion of these profits goes to Seok, and in return, the cell leaders gain far more privileges and freedoms than the other inmates. No one imagined there would be a criminal syndicate inside a juvenile prison. And of course, one of those shops is the gambling shop. We see someone playing, and he says, "There's a way you can keep going. We can lend you money, but you have to provide us with collateral." He pulls out a paper for him to sign as a promissory note and smiles in his face. The young man replies, "Why are you telling me this now?" Of course, everyone, all the young men who enter this gambling shop get addicted immediately. We return to our hero after he's thrown the die and claim there's a magnet and that there's scammers. People start looking his way and Yunho replies, "A scam? What are you talking about?" Our hero picks up the rest of the die, pulls out a metal ball from inside and says, "There's a magnet inside the die. That's how you're able to manipulate the outcome." And this is where people start talking, wondering if the gambling den is cheating them. Our hero continues, "Do you think I'm saying something wrong? The magnet is right here in my hand, and when you throw the dice, the number you want appears, right?" Yunho replies, "That's not true. This ball is just a weight to balance the dice and keep it centered using gravity. And what I have in my hand is the magnet. Bring the ball close to the magnet." And indeed, our hero brings the ball close to it. But when he lets go, it falls to the ground. Yunho continues, "If the ball were a magnet, it would have stuck immediately, right? But it fell, as you can see. And look, this is a real magnet. But the ball isn't." Of course, Yuno has some pins that he sticks to the magnet. And here, people are saying, our hero made all this fuss for nothing, maybe because he lost money. So Yuno smiles and says, "Okay, now how about we start the game over?" Juan notices our hero is there, and our hero actually plays. After a short while, we see Yunho smiling and saying, "Great, you're very fast. You've lost all your money." Our hero, with his hand on his head, thinks he's sure there's a 50% chance of winning, and he wonders if he just has no luck. Then Yunho asks him again if he's gone broke. Young answers, "Just a second. I had a bill here or somewhere." Yunho tells him, "But you play hard for a beginner." Suddenly, someone comes out shouting, "This is a scam. You guys are a bunch of scammers. Do you think you can fool me that easily?" Our hero looks toward the shouting young man and sees him holding a screwdriver, waving it in people's faces, and he continues, "This game doesn't count and I'm not giving you my money." At this point, Juan approaches him, grabs the hand holding the screwdriver, and makes him drop it. And he says to him, "You were happy when you were winning. And after you lost, you start making these scenes. It seems like you have a lot of problems." Then he punches him in the face, grabs him by the head, pins him against a car, and says, "You say this is a scam. Well, do you have proof?" The young man replies, "This probability doesn't add up." Juan continues, "So you're saying it's just a feeling? If you're going to make this fuss without any evidence, we'll have a problem because you're distracting the others." The young man apologizes, and Juan lets him go, saying, "I did that for the safety of the others. So please be generous and forgive me. And now you can continue and enjoy the game." Listen up, guys. Many of you are new here, so play well if this bothers you. One laughs afterward, while our hero keeps watching him. After a while, our hero returns to the cell and sits with his cellmates. Namin asks him, "Yong, how's the gambling then?" He replies, "I lost all my money and couldn't find any proof they're cheating." "What did you guys do?" Namin tells him, "We managed to steal their cards. You were acting great and everyone was looking at you, so stealing them was really easy. So what do you think of my plan?" "Genius, isn't it?" Our hero tells him. "That was really embarrassing. Anyway, if they're scamming people, we must find something on these cards." We go back to the gambling den, where a car is running and its wheels are spinning. A dealer who works at the den has his head near the wheel and is screaming loudly, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." Juan, who is holding the dealer's head under the wheel, replies, "The gambling den is a place for scams, and people like you are the reason these meaningless rumors spread. And as you can see, I'm in trouble." He presses his face against the wheel, and the dealer starts screaming even more. Then Juan leaves him lying on the ground. Yunho approaches him and says, "I am sorry for letting Young cause such a scene in my place." Juan takes the towel from him and replies, "It's no problem. It's not your fault. Don't worry. Keep working and give it your best for the gambling den." Yunho agrees immediately. After Juan wipes the blood off his hand, he says, "That boy named Young, I don't know why, but he clearly has a deep grudge against the Dragon organization, of which I am a member. I don't care if he's looking into me, but I can't let him cause trouble for me in the gambling den. And if he causes trouble again, I'll have his head." We return to our hero's cell, and here Namin says, "That's it, I found it." Yom asks him what he saw. Namin points to the card and says, "Look here on the back. In the regular circular pattern, there are 2 circles of different sizes. This is marked. You can tell what the card is from the back." Guillaume replies, "That means they were actually cheating." Our hero takes the card from him, looks at it, and says to himself, "Now I've found my justification. By the way, everyone, I wanted to tell you that today's episode's password is Juan." Time passes, and we see a man named Gong leaving prison. Someone is waiting for him at the gate, holding a bag and waving, saying, "Congratulations on your release." Gong is surprised and asks who he is. The man replies after putting his hand on his shoulder, "Take this tofu to celebrate." "You were happy inside, right?" Gong is puzzled and asks him, "Happy how? Were you on a trip or something?" The man continues, "Oh, stop it. You were gambling and having a great time, weren't you? Look, are you going to keep pretending to me that you didn't do anything in there? The truth is, everyone, this Gong is the same guy who signed the promissory note or the guarantee." Indeed, the man pulls out the receipt and says to him, "Here is the guarantee you signed, which is your consent to sell your body organs. You are 174 centimeters tall and weigh 64 kilograms. You don't drink alcohol or smoke, and you don't have any serious illnesses. Your health is excellent, you're in top shape. And more importantly, your blood type is O. I've been waiting for you for a very long time." They take the man toward a van with 2 nurses inside and throw him in. Time passes and we return to the prison where this man is visiting Juan, saying, "They are all so active and full of life. That's why their organs are truly fresh. The business has become very successful. Look, I even have a new tooth, and it's all thanks to you, Juan." Juan laughs and says, "It's nothing. We're not doing anything difficult." Of course, everyone to the organization, Juan is an organ trafficking agent sentenced to 2.5 years. And we all know he runs the gambling den in the prison. The man continues, "But how much longer do you want to keep doing this? Because someone might follow this story and look into you. And if the prison warden leaves, he might pin everything on you. Then all the responsibility will be on you alone." Juan answers, "Even if the worst case scenario happens, it's fine, because there's no problem in the world that can't be solved with money." We return to our hero's cell as he looks at the card and says, "The difference is very small. I understand why no one has been able to notice it until now." Namin says, "See, Guillaume, even Sherlock Holmes wouldn't have been able to spot the difference. I have hawk eyes, and you know I found the difference." "But this whole thing scared me." Young continues, "Now I have the sword with which I'll take Juan's head. And tonight we're going to gamble." And indeed, we see our hero entering the place, and people are sitting there playing. Of course, our hero's mission is simple. Just sit and play at the card table, and in a bit, in front of everyone, he'll reveal how they're scamming them. Indeed, Yun-ho is at the card table and says, "Yong, you're back?" Our hero approaches the table and asks, "This is the card table, right?" Yun-ho tells him he's right and asks him to have a seat. As soon as our hero sits, Juan calls out to him and says, "Welcome! I've been waiting for you. How about you and I play a round?" Our hero is surprised to see Juan sitting at the table, who continues, "I'm curious to know why you want to reach the Dragon organization." Our hero thinks, why does he want to face him? What is he hiding? He answered, "I won't share my personal business with you." Our hero replies, "Fine, if you can win, I have no problem." People gather around the table, surprised that the manager is playing around himself, and that this is the first time they've seen him play. And here Juan says, "You can choose the game." Young replies, "I tried the dice game, and I'm thinking of trying cards, since I haven't tried them before." Yunho puts the cards on the table and says, "Well, in that case, how about a beginner's game anyone can enjoy, which is matching pairs? This game is very simple. You just have to flip the card and try to match as many as possible. And if you get 2 cards that look alike, your turn continues. But if you make a mistake, it's your opponent's turn. Most importantly, remember the locations of the cards you've seen." Our hero agrees to this game, thinking that since they know the marks on the cards, there's no way they can lose this game. And if he didn't know about the mark on the card, he would also lose easily. Yunho spreads the cards on the table, and people are surprised by Yong, talking about him being the same person who wanted to finish off the remaining cell leaders. Guillaume and Namin are standing among the people, and Namin says, "Guillaume, do you see what's happening?" Our hero looks at the cards and sees the marks have disappeared. Namin continues, "Are the marks so small we can't see them?" Guillaume says to himself, "No, these cards don't have any marks." And here one smiles and says, "The pattern is beautiful on the cards, right?" because our gambling den uses very high quality cards, as you can see. And we also have many games for beginners. And since you find traditional games difficult, we can start with something simple and light, like Catch the Thief. Our hero realizes that Juan turned out to know they stole the cards. Yunho looks at him and asks if he's ready, and asks them to put down the money they'll play for. So Juan takes out a large amount of money and says, I'll start the round with this amount, since I don't play much, being the boss and all. And let's not make the game boring. What do you think? Our hero looks at Yunho and tells him he doesn't have money. Yunho replies, no problem, even if there's no money, you can play if you have collateral. All you have to do is sign here. Just check the price of the body part to know the amount you want to bet. Go ahead now. He takes out the organ collateral paper. Our hero looks at the paper in shock. People talk about hearing rumors about this story, but no one imagined it was real. They see it as madness because of what's happening inside the prison. And here Juan says, what's wrong? You're afraid. Guillaume thinks that there's surely a scam happening in this game too, and Young has no chance of winning. And it's good they found out about this before he placed the bet, and now he can back out of the game. But they're all shocked when they see our hero actually signing the paper and saying, I can play without money since I signed the collateral, right? Namin says, what is he doing? So GM tells him that he must have gone crazy. Our hero continues speaking. I could never say no to something like this. And from my head to my toes, I'm ready to risk everything. Juan agrees after our hero signs the collateral, and Namin and GM think they'll definitely cheat. But our hero has bet all of his body parts. They wonder what he could possibly be thinking. And here Yunho says, the first round will be yours, Young. Our hero reaches out and reveals the first card, and it's an 8. He reveals the next one, and it's a 9. So Yunho says that they're different. Juan replies that it's his turn. He reveals a card, and it's a 9, and he reveals the card our hero revealed last time. So our hero is shocked that he revealed a card on the first try that was just like one he'd revealed a moment ago. And so Juan wins the first point. Young says, looks like you're lucky from the start. I mean, as they say, gambling depends on luck and nothing else. Juan looks at him and says to himself, you say luck. It's not about luck at all. I know where every single one is. Exactly where every card in every match is. Because I figured out exactly where the dealer would put them and memorized their locations before we even started the game. And since there's no evidence and what I'm doing is very simple, it's the most perfect way to cheat. And you'll just sit there not knowing what's happening around you. And there's no way for you to win, and I'll take everything from you. Seriously, you turned out to be quite pathetic. And of course, Juan plays one and wins it and loses the next one. He goes back to play the one after that and wins and loses so as not to draw attention. He remembers himself when he was young, and back then his father asked him why he admired him. And Juan answered, why are you asking about something so obvious, Dad? Because you make a lot of money, of course. His father jokes with him. Oh, you rascal, is that what you say to your father as he's going to work? It seems I have no choice. I have to work with all my effort for my son's sake. Of course, to Juan, his father was the most trustworthy person in the world, or at least that's what he thought. And then he found out that his father wasn't going to the company every day, but was going to the casino instead and ended up with 50 million in debt to a moneylender. And because his father was stupid, he didn't know the truth that the game system was deceiving him. And he's not stupid like his father, and he believes he has to be the deceiver. And he says, it seems luck is on my side today. I can't believe I've collected all these pairs. One of those present says, Young hasn't been able to collect a single pair yet. His luck is not good at all, and it seems that at this moment the game is over. Tomorrow he'll cry like a baby when they remove all his organs. He won't even have eyes to cry with. And here Young says, do I have to show people now that this game is just a trick? Juan is surprised by his words, and our hero reveals a card, and it's the Queen. And he reveals the second one, and it's also the Queen. People are shocked and say that maybe luck has started to play with him, or it could be a coincidence, but he plays the second round and reveals 2 5s together. He continues, it seems luck is standing by me. Of course, people think he'll still need a lot of time to collect 16 pairs of cards, but he reveals the cards one after another, and they're all pairs and they're all correct. And he keeps collecting pairs and has almost reached the last few cards. And Juan is worried because only he and the dealer know the locations of the cards. He looks at the dealer in surprise. We go back in time and see the dealer tidying the rug he was playing on, and he finds a rolled up paper on the floor. He remembers our hero threw this paper after he ran out of money, so he opens it and finds a note to meet behind the toilets. The dealer Yunho actually goes to meet our hero and asks him why he wanted to meet. Young tells him, I know you guys have swapped the cards. Yunho is surprised and asks him what he means. At the same time, he realizes that he must be the one who stole the cards, but they have already replaced them all now. Young continues, you most likely swapped the cards, didn't you? And now the cards are new and have no markings on them. And that's the reason why I told you to come here. I'll get straight to the point. Look, I'll save you and those working in the gambling den. Everyone working for Juan owes him money, right? And they've surely signed over their organs as collateral. I'll pay off that debt for you, but you have to help me this time. Yunho is shocked when he hears this and says, "You're talking nonsense. If I side with you and something goes wrong, Juan will finish me off." Yong continues, "I heard that your debt is very large. Are you sure you can pay it off before you leave here? Because you only have 1 week left before you're released, and I'm willing to bet that as soon as you're out, you'll head straight to the operating table. Your task is simple, like a game of dice when everyone is watching. You'll tell the truth and say that these games are just a scam and a fraud." We return to the game again. Our hero says, "It seems my luck is good today, or my memory is good, since I memorized the position of all the cards. Alpha, beta, pons. And this is the plan that you and the dealer had prepared from the start." The people are surprised when they hear this. And here Yunho says, "That's correct. All the gambling games here involve fraud and scams, and I can show you all the tricks we use in every game." The people are shocked by what was said and start talking about whether they were really deceived and lost a lot of money because of it. Or if everything was a scam, then they must get their money back. One says, "Are you trying to say that my gambling den is scamming people? That's ridiculous. I could never do such a thing. You're calling me a scammer. What is this nonsense?" At that moment, our hero attacks him, punches him in the head, knocks him to the ground and says, "I think that's enough justification, isn't it? And as I said, when there's a justification, I'm going to take your head off now." Juan remembers when he was at home, and the man who lent his father money came, knocked on the door and said, "Open the door. You're running away from me now after you wasted all your money on gambling." Juan is shocked, looks at his father and says, "Dad, what gambling is this man talking about? Say something, Dad." His father is sitting on the floor like a child, sucking his thumb, and replies confusedly, I didn't do anything wrong. You said you love money and love seeing your dad make a lot of money." The truth is, because of the debts that piled up on Juan's father due to gambling, he fell into a state and became bedridden. And it stayed that way all the time. At that point, Juan realized that if he didn't have money, he wouldn't be able to protect his family. We return to our hero, who is holding the table and telling Juan he'll take his head off, and he actually throws it at Juan with all his strength. He looks where Juan was, but he's gone. He says, "Now you're running away." But suddenly Juan attacks from behind and replies, "I'm certainly not running away." He hits our hero, sending him flying, and our hero falls to the ground. Juan approaches Yunho and says, "You dealer, when you try to betray me, that's not enough. And now you've made me look like a fraud, so you're going to have to pay the price." He then grabs him by the neck and lifts him into the air. So Yunho replies, "Are you kidding me? What evidence do I have that proves you're a scammer?" Juan interrupts him and says, "Evidence? And where is this evidence you're talking about?" "Here." Yunho notices another dealer, a colleague, with the bag on his shoulder, about to leave the place. And Juan continues as he slams him to the ground. "The one who should be angry right now is me. So you think you can conspire with an outsider and slander this gambling den? Is this your big idea to pay off the debts you owe? Money always controls people." And here our hero attacks him and throws a punch. But Juan throws Yunho at our hero, and he falls. Juan quickly approaches both of them, raises his hand and says, "I don't want to criticize you, but I have no intention of forgiving you either." And Juan lands a terrible punch on Yunho's face, saying, "I didn't know he'd go down that fast." And here Young comes from behind and kicks him, saying, "Of course I won't go down that fast." We see Juan tumbling on the ground from the force of the blow, hitting the side of the car as money flies in the air. Our hero continues, "I don't want to run away, and I won't let anyone else run away." Juan remembers sitting next to his father. A man wearing a hat is sitting next to him and says, "It seems your father's condition hasn't improved yet." "I never imagined he'd reach this stage." Juan says to him, "Maybe it's because of the gambling den and the games they played that my father ended up like this. How much I was upset with him, but I'm sure he was carrying a heavy responsibility, because the debts he had from gambling were all paid off through gambling." Of course, when Juan's father was in bed, he understood then that a person without money cannot protect his family. The man in the hat replies, "If anyone heard this, they'd think your father made his own decision. You animal, you sold yourself to me of your own accord. That's why there's no point in raising a kid. But now you've paid what you owed me, so why do you want to take care of your father?" "Because of that family love they talk about." Juan looks at him and says, "Why? Does that make money?" Juan stands up again and says, "Don't worry, I'm not leaving without taking the money with me." He attacks our hero and throws a punch at his face. But our hero dodges and replies, "I was wondering why you keep talking about money. But you're clearly a failure at fighting, aren't you?" Of course, as our hero dodges the blow, he lands rapid punches on Juan, messing up his face. Juan continues, Is fighting really that important? Our hero is very surprised by him. Juan steps back and kicks our hero in the chest, knocking the wind out of him. Then Juan delivers a very powerful punch that sends him flying until he hits the car's windshield. He says, "People like you end up working for me and paying off their debts. Do you really think fighting is the most important thing?" Our hero doesn't respond, and we see half his body through the car's windshield. One of the bystanders says, "Look, guys, he's acting with incredible power while talking." The one next to him replies, "Is the other kid dead?" Namin is worried about our hero and wonders what happened to him. Then Juan says to them, "I'm sorry, everyone, for the disturbance I caused. As you saw, this was a small incident with a customer. There are no issues with our games, and we'll reorganize everything soon." But suddenly he hears our hero's voice saying, "It seems I was wrong. As I said, your gambling shop doesn't rig games, and there's no reason for me to finish you off." Juan replies to him, "Even if you regret it now." But our hero interrupts him and says, "No, I won't need any justification at all. This place is ultimately for playing. And from now on, you and I will play a game of hide and seek. So hide well or your hair will show. Hide well or your hair will show." Juan is surprised by what our hero says as he pulls his head out of the car, covered in blood. He continues, "As soon as I catch you, you'll die instantly." Of course, everyone is shocked by our hero's words, and we see Yunho lying on the ground, crying. Here, our hero raises his hand, wipes the blood off his face, and says, "I'm coming to get you now." Our hero gets out of the car and stands before Juan, who looks at the ground and says, "I can't believe this place. Everything in it I worked with all my effort to achieve, and there's no way I'm running away and leaving everything behind now." Juan reaches for the table, takes the dice, and attacks our hero, striking with the hand holding the dice, but our hero catches it, and the dice flies out of his hand. Young replies, "You still don't understand the situation you're in. Everything you worked for and built will turn to ash." He twists Juan's arm, and our hero kicks Juan in the head, slamming him to the ground. He continues, "I hate this game of signals. How about we play dice? I see it landed on 3, so you'll take 3 hits." And indeed, our hero punches him 3 times, and Juan immediately falls to the ground, saying, "Do you dare to knock me down using force? I'm not like you. I'm not the type to strike first and then think about the consequences. I have ambitions and plans much bigger than this." Here, our hero throws the dice again in front of him, and it lands on the number 6. Our hero says, "You might have plans and ambitions, but it seems luck isn't on your side at all." Juan gets angry. Enough of this nonsense. But Young attacks him here and hits him 6 times. And here, Juan remembers when he entered the tattoo parlor. The girl says, "You got permission from your mom, right? These days, crab and goblin tattoos are the most popular among school students. Do you want one of those 2 tattoos?" Of course, the girl is practicing by drawing on a pig. So Juan, who is carrying a bag, replies to her, "I want the exact dragon tattoo you have." The girl, who has the dragon tattoo on her chest and neck, continues, "Where are you looking?" Juan answers, "I know everything. And I know you're the scout for the dragon organization. Please, I want to join the organization. Because if I have the organization's support and my plans move quickly, I could make a lot of money." Adi Duwaisi. He opens the bag and it's full of money. The girl looks at it while playing with the tattoo machine between her fingers and says, "I don't know, but I like a man who risks his life more than money." Juan reaches out and takes the machine from her, saying, "As you wish. For money, I can put my life in danger more than once, no matter the situation." And he goes and stabs the tattoo machine into his neck. The girl grabs his hand and says to him, "You're accepted. Now, what do you want from the dragon organization?" He tells her, "First, I want you to send me to juvenile prison." And we return to the car maintenance training center in the prison. And we see Juan running and shouting, "Everyone get out of my way, you disgusting dogs. Clear the path. No one stand in my way." He continues to himself, "This is truly infuriating, but I have to retreat now. All the evidence proves the gambling shop is cheating. It must have been destroyed by now by the one who got out. And you, Young, and the other cell leaders will come soon after." But before he finishes, Guillaume appears before him and says, "I brought the evidence that proves the entire gambling shop is a scam." He throws the bag into the air and hits him with it, knocking him to the ground. The people there are surprised and say that the things in the bag are just dice and cards, which are just things used in normal games. Guillaume replies to them, "Look closely. The dealer who just left took these things with him. And this is the evidence that proves this whole place is a scam. Juan, you're finished now." Namin approaches him and says, "Guillaume, you turned out to be very useful." The people are shocked by the scam and wonder about the money they lost in the shop. They want to get their money back. And of course, Juan is lying on the ground. He starts crawling and gathering the scattered money, saying, "I won't let you take it from me. This money is my money that I collected myself." Our hero approaches him carrying a gallon of gasoline and starts pouring it on Juan, saying, "It's not over yet. There's still one last game we have to play. Understand? And the name of this game, let's just say it's Electric Shock." We see him holding jumper cables and striking them together, creating sparks. Our hero continues. You lost. So now it's your turn. Juan is terrified of our hero and says, wait, there's gas on my money. Don't do it. I'm telling you to stop, you animal. Young replies, I told you that everything you built would turn to ash. The people are shocked by what's happening. And here our hero is surprised to see that Juan has lost consciousness. So he says he's passed out and defeated, but that's not a problem right now. Then the white-haired cell leader enters and says, pick up the money from the floor. I don't want to see anyone here. This money is mine. This is what was expected. I knew everything here was a scam. Juan, you won't be able to run the gambling shop now. A year passes and we see Juan leaving prison thinking that he might have failed in prison. But of course, big thanks to the man in the hat who was picking people up at the prison gate to sell their organs. Juan thinks he's learned from what happened to him and is planning something bigger, starting over once again. And here the man raises his hand and says, how are you, beloved Juan? You've had a very rough time, but well done. Come on, please, I've brought some tofu with me. Am I not the only one who takes good care of you? Juan replies. I'm sorry I couldn't send you things from inside lately, but I'll set up my place outside quickly and I want you to wait for me for a little while. The man continues. Yes, of course, you can make a place for yourself, but before that, the money I lent you for your old plans, we have to settle that matter first. Juan tells him, you know I don't have any money right now. The man laughs and replies, what money? We're professionals. Don't you worry about that part. You know better than anyone that there are other ways. The van with the bed and nurses is open in front of Juan, who is shocked as soon as he sees it. The man continues, let's do the math. The money you've borrowed up until this moment. If we calculate the legal maximum interest rate, the amount will be 1,238,000,000 won. Now let's go because the customer is waiting. The man pushes Juan into the van, takes him, and they drive away. We return to the prison and see our hero and his friends walking in the hallway, and Namin says, Juan is finished. Of course, all thanks to my observation when I found the mark on the card. Ligium replies, but I'm the one who brought back the evidence. Then our hero intervenes and says to them, well done to all of you guys. Our hero then opens the cell door and goes inside thinking that so far he's finished off 3 of the Dragon Organization seeds and the next target. But before he finishes his thought, he's surprised to find someone standing inside their cell, so he asks who he is. And what is he doing here? The man, a white-haired cell leader holding a photo of our hero and his girlfriend, says to him, is this the girl who died in the car accident? She looks like... But before he finishes, our hero attacks him, grabs him by the face, pins him to the ground, and says, get me a pillow. Naaman is surprised and asks him why he wants it. Of course, our hero has covered the man's mouth with his hand and says so he can't scream loudly and fill the hallway outside with his voice. And we go back a bit in time, and we see the white-haired man sitting on the floor somewhere, looking back and counting the insults written on the wall. There are people around him, and he says, how boring is this? Don't you have anything more interesting than this? I want something to boost my dopamine. And we return to the cell leaders meeting when our hero bursts in, breaks the shovel, and attacks Juan. And of course, the white-haired man was watching what was happening and heard him when he was talking about the dragon seeds. At that moment, he said, great, this is the dopamine I'm looking for. And we go to our hero's cell now after he asked for the pillow, and he's holding the white-haired man by the face, covering his mouth. Of course, the white-haired man tries to speak, so our hero says to him, you don't understand what I'm saying. You're so annoying. Our hero raises his hand to hit him. But at that moment, the man holds up the notebook where he'd drawn our hero's dragon tattoo, puts it in his face and says, surprise, the dragon tattoo. This is what you're looking for, isn't it? How about I help you with this? Of course, the white-haired man moves away from our hero, steadies himself on the floor and continues, if you want to finish off all these dragons one by one, no problem. But there's a misunderstanding. Let's clear it up first. This photo fell out of the notebook and I have no bad intentions. So take it easy on me. I'm just a well-wisher who wants to help you. Of course, the white-haired man picks up the photo from the floor and gives it to our hero, who takes it quickly and says, get out of here. The man smiles, approaches our hero, and says to him, I thought you were smart, but it seems you're stupider than I expected. You're a cell leader and free to fight as much as you want. But if you keep acting this recklessly, you'll be the one falling into the hands of the other leaders. This juvenile detention center has more dragons than you can imagine. What, you still don't want me to help you? Our hero thinks he shouldn't trust him because he appeared suddenly and is acting very strangely, and now he's offering help. Our hero doesn't know what the white-haired man stands to gain from this. And of course, we see him grabbing the window bars and breaking them, so Naaman says to him, that's going to cost our cell a fee. Our hero looks at him and asks, what is your goal in all this? What are you looking for? The man replies, what am I looking for? I want my dopamine to explode. The next day in the juvenile detention center hall, we see all the prisoners sitting and happy. Because on this day, the temple has sent girls to the prison to pray for the inmates. And of course, since the guys have been in prison for a long time, they see the girls and can't believe it. and we see the girl singing. And our hero is staring at the temple's name. And here he remembers a time when Yoon was walking in the temple playing hide and seek with him, looking for him until she finally opens a door and says, "Found you." Of course, here Yoon was only 17 years old. We see our hero sitting on the floor, motionless. And Yoon continues, "I knew you were sleeping." He replies, "Yeah, and you're the one who woke me up." Yoon says to him, "I told you it would be cold at night." As they talk, they hear the door. Our hero asks if someone came with her. Yoon tells him, "No, no one. But could it be Yuna?" Indeed, a girl named Yuna enters, calls for Yoon, and says the sister said we must return to the orphanage now. If you're late, she'll punish you. Yoon enters the room where our hero is. He's surprised and asks what she's doing. Yoon whispers back, "Stay quiet. If we're caught now, they'll make us clean the temple for a week." After our hero recalls these memories in the hall, he looks at the girls and hears a classmate say, "Did you see that miracle? She's glowing, her voice is lovely, and she's so beautiful." The guy next to him asks who he's talking about. The first one points to her and says, "Over there, look how beautiful she is." Our hero looks at the same spot, surprised, and says, "Yuna?" When Yuna hears her name, she looks toward the sound, shocked, and says, "Young? Is it possible?" A bit later in the prison cafeteria, the girls are working on the meals they'll serve to the inmates. One of them says, "Sister, we came here to offer hope." The one next to her replies, "But I don't see any hope at all in this place." Of course, some inmates are looking at them in a terrible way. We see the girls serving the food on the tables. Naturally, the inmates start harassing them verbally, and the girls just look at them, not knowing what to do. A short-haired girl says, "Why must we volunteer for trash like them? They should just rot in hell." The first girl replies, "You're being way too loud, sister." The second one continues, "This rice is wasted on people like them." At that moment, the massive cell leader arrives and says, "Thank you, Lord, for providing my bread today, though I am a sinner." "Thank you, sisters. I wish you the best always." The girls are surprised to find a religious man among the inmates, but they're even more surprised when he performs different rituals and leaves them completely confused. Then the first girl says, "Anyway, why is Yuna so late?" She said she was going to rest for a bit. Elsewhere in the prison, in a small room, we see our hero with Yuna, who says the place is tiny and it's very hot. He replies, "I'm sorry, but there's nowhere else we can meet without being seen." Yuna continues, "It's okay, but these temple clothes really make you feel the heat. It's been a long time since we talked like this, and I find the whole thing quite strange. The three of us used to always talk and have fun together. Since Yoon left us, look, I know you and Yoon were together, and that was a long time ago. So this whole situation must have been very hard all this time, right? And you surely felt lonely, didn't you?" Now Yoon puts her hand on our hero's neck and leans in close to him. "By the way, everyone, I wanted to tell you today's episode password, which is Yuna." We flash back to school days and see Yuna walking down the hall while students talk about how beautiful she is and that it's their first time seeing her. One says her name is Yuna, a freshman, and they wonder why she's on the second floor with the sophomores. They ask themselves, who is she here to see? Yuna enters our hero Young's classroom, stands before him, and asks, "Young, why aren't you answering me?" Young replies, "Sorry, I apologize, but what's going on?" Yuna continues, "You haven't even looked at the messages. I still have many gift coins from my birthday last year, and I can't use them all by myself. Can you help me?" He tells her, "Sorry, but I have projects with Yoon today. I'll help you tomorrow." "Sorry, Yuna." And here our hero takes his bag and leaves the classroom, leaving Yuna looking towards the door and thinking. And we return now to the present time, and our hero is shocked by what Yuna is doing as she says, "You were very lonely lately, right? I know how it feels when someone is alone in this world. Young, you're not alone. I'm here for you." She holds his hands afterwards, so our hero is surprised by what she's doing and saying, and he's about to speak, but she interrupts him and says, "You didn't answer my messages." Young says to her, "It's just that I had things I had to do. Anyway, did something happen?" Yuna laughs and plays with her hair and says to him, "You haven't changed as usual. You know, Young." Suddenly they hear the sound of the guards outside talking, and one of them says, "You haven't eaten until now, right? I heard they're serving food. Let's hurry so we can catch the food." So his colleague tells him that he's really hungry. Yuna gets startled and says, "I forgot lunch. I was taking a short break, but it's gotten long now. Anyway, I'm glad I saw you after all this long time." Young replies, "I'm also glad I saw you, Yuna. And in 3 years, I'll see you outside." Yuna continues, "Young, I'm coming next week, and our temple will organize visits every Sunday starting from now. It's a very nice idea for us to see each other often, isn't it?" After a while, we see Yuna working in the restaurant and cleaning the place while she's happy and talking to the prisoners, and the girls are surprised by the way she's acting. And our hero is sitting in the restaurant and hears one of the girls saying she went back to flirting with the guys again. As usual, this girl is very bold. How can she act this way with criminals? It seems the rumors turned out to be true. The one's talking about Hotel Yuna. She's definitely a saint, but the saint commits many sins. After a while, the high priestess is standing on the stage in the hall and praying with the people. And of course, the prisoners are bored. And here the priestess says, "Today you are free. I want you all to confess your freedom and everyone will dance." The prisoners are very happy. And you see the girls wearing dance clothes, and we see them dancing on the stage in front of the prisoners who are very happy and going crazy over them. Our hero hears two people talking about going to the girls' room after they finish this party to harass them. And indeed, after the party, the girls are in their room changing their clothes. And we see the two who wanted to come to the room standing by the door, listening to the talk inside. And they decide to open the door to see the girls while they're changing their clothes. And as soon as they open the door, our hero appears behind them and says, "I bet the view now won't be like before." They both get startled as soon as they hear his voice, and our hero hits them and throws them to the ground. And here the huge cell leader comes and says to them, "You shouldn't commit any sin. You are sinners and won't be forgiven for what you did." The girls hear what's happening outside, and Yuna comes out and sees our hero, asking him what's going on. But when she sees the two lying on the ground and screaming, she gets scared and holds our hero's hand and hides her face behind him, and he says, "What, were you scared of this sight?" A week later, the temple group is in the prison as well. The high priestess is praying with the people. And in the donation warehouse, we see our hero working in it and saying, "Moving donated goods is a very difficult matter. But what's going to happen now?" He looks behind him and finds three people standing there holding switchblades in their hands. And one of them says, "You only just noticed we're here now? You're way too late, you idiot." The three of them attack him together and hit him with the switchblades. He says, "Heaven might punish you for what you've done. You're ruining the donated goods like this. Now it's time for you to take a bath." Of course, our hero blocks the knives with the water crate and throws the bottles at those three. Here, our hero circles behind them, quickly knocks them down, pins one of them, and continues. "You're definitely not doing this on your own. Who told you to do this?" Suddenly, he hears someone outside opening the door. And we find the guard opening the door and saying, "What's that noise? What are you doing in the warehouse? And what's going on here?" We see Yuna sitting at the back of the warehouse with our hero a bit away from her. So he's surprised when he sees her. And here the guard continues, "What are you doing here? Don't tell me he did something to you." Yuna points at our hero, covering her body with some of her clothes on the floor, and says, "He's the one who did this to me." Going back in time a bit, we see messages between two people agreeing on something for money. It also clarifies that they'll meet at 7 o'clock. Indeed, at 7, we see an old man in a hotel room, and Yuna is there with him saying, "Don't go back on your word. You'll give me the 500,000 won in cash, right?" The man replies, "Of course, I have plenty of money. By the way, you're very pretty without makeup." We should thank heaven for this situation. Yuna is surprised by his words, so the man continues, "Would you like me to explain what I mean?" "Okay, come and sit next to me." Yuna approaches him, and the man reaches out to take off his robe. But then someone enters the room. The old man is shocked and asks, "Who are you?" The man who entered replies, "An illicit meeting, isn't it? And not just anyone, it's the priest himself." The priest says, "Are you threatening me, you low-life amateur? I know the police commissioner." But before he finishes, the man punches him in the face, and Yuna then holds up a bag with a running camera. "You're the temple priest. Surely you can handle this video being leaked and come out of this unscathed." The priest replies, "No, please don't do that." The man continues while holding him by the head, "Don't worry, priest. We can agree on a suitable price now." We go to the prison and see the guard putting our hero in solitary confinement, saying, "Young, you'll stay here for 10 days. You're such a lowlife. How could you do something like that during a visit? I know the warden treats you specially, but since an outsider was involved in this, you can't leave solitary at all because of the incident. Also, the Ministry of Justice is now monitoring the place via surveillance cameras, so that's an additional reason preventing me from letting you out of here." The guard leaves him in the cell, walks down the hallway, and continues, "Of all places, this disgusting story had to happen here in the juvenile prison." Of course, our hero stands before the door, remembering when Yuna pointed at him and said he did that to her. He says to himself, "Yuna, why did you do that?" The truth is, folks, on the same day during prayer in the prison hall, the massive cell leader is sitting with Yuna on the bus in the prison parking lot, and he tells her, "Meeting again like this? It must be our destiny. It's been a long time since we met, Sister Yuna." Yuna, sitting next to him, replies, "I know there's corruption here, but is a prisoner really allowed to go wherever he wants freely?" He replies, "The cell leaders here pay the warden monthly, which gives them a certain degree of freedom. So don't worry, even if it weren't like that, as long as I'm with you, I can handle anything. Because when I'm with you, I remember the old days when we used to pass judgment on heretics, even though my methods were a bit harsh." Of course, everyone, this huge cell leader's name is Joseph, and this Joseph is the same one who used to work with Yuna and blackmail people for money. When Joseph, at that time, used to beat them, and of course, he's imprisoned for 12 cases of assault and intimidation. And he also has 18 cases that haven't been discovered yet. Joseph continues his speech. You were always very helpful to me. That's why I'm going to leave this matter to you. You're the one who must judge Young. And we go back to our hero in his cell thinking that he couldn't understand anything that happened. Because according to the circumstances, someone wanted to trap him, and the men who tried to hurt him were just a trick to waste his time. But the real goal was to exploit Yuna and frame him for a sexual assault case. But Yuna, after the guard came and approached her and she told him that he was the one who did it, she changed her story and said that he was the one who saved her, and that those 3 unconscious prisoners were the ones who brought her here by force and then tried to attack her. But our hero saved her, and here the guard tells his colleagues to take them all outside. So our hero wonders who could be exploiting Yuna, and why did she change her mind at the last minute? And did she really save him? Our hero stands up, looks through the door, calls the guard and says he wants to request something. The guard stops and approaches the door again and says to him, what's the story? Since there are cameras, we shouldn't draw too much attention. Our hero answers, I know, but I want you to talk to someone. And now we go to the bus and see Yuna and Joseph, who says, on the first day you came here for a prison visit last week, when you saw me, you hid behind someone else. That's when I knew you were infatuated with that heretic. That's why I gave you a chance to bring justice to him with your own 2 hands. But why didn't you do it? Yuna replies while trembling. Is that what justice means to you? Can I stop it now? I did everything you told me to do outside the prison. Joseph replies, you seem to have forgotten that I have all the videos, and you are doing a great job, honestly. You must continue helping me, and you'll work now and in the future as well. And then your mother... But before he finishes, Yuna gets angry, stands up and says to him, I'll report you to the police. I'll report all the crimes you committed outside the prison. At that moment, Joseph stands up, grabs her, breaks the necklace around her neck, and throws her to the ground, then says, it seems you've become more corrupt than I expected, you heretic. Don't worry. I'll take this opportunity now to cleanse you of your sins here. You can scream and cry until you're tired, because right now there's no one near us, and there's no one but the 2 of us. Of course, they're both sitting inside the bus in the prison parking lot, and everyone else is in the prison hall. At that moment, the bus door opens, so Joseph and Yuna look toward it, and someone gets on and stands at the front of the bus. And here Joseph says, how did you do it? How did you manage to get out of solitary confinement? Sorry, could you wait a minute? Because there's a matter here I need to finish first. As you can see, the person who got on the bus replies while closing the door, and it turns out to be our hero. Do whatever you want, because I'm also going to do whatever I want. Let's go back in time a bit. After our hero spoke to the guard and asked to speak with someone, we see then that our hero asked for the white-haired cell leader to come to him. We see him standing at the door saying, what's this? You have your own cell. I'm so jealous of you. It looks very comfortable. I want to be here too. And we see him holding the door bars and pulling them left and right. Our hero replies, I didn't ask you to come here just to talk. And I said before that we must work together and that you'll help me. I want you to prove that now and show me that you'll be useful to me. The white-haired guy looks at him and says, what's the story? How can I help you? Tell me everything. And we go back to the bus. Yuna is looking at our hero and calling out to him. So our hero says, get away from Yuna right now. Joseph replies, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm performing a religious ritual. Our hero continues angrily. I told you to get away from her. Joseph approaches him and says, and I told you I'm performing a ritual. But this is to be expected. It's hard for someone like you to understand this. And here they attack each other. Our hero punches him hard in the chest and says, stop the nonsense you did to Yuna. What you did to her is a crime, and you deserve to be punished until you die. Our hero keeps hitting him all over his body. After he stops, he looks at Joseph, who stands up normally, his shirt torn from our hero's blows. Joseph says, you know how to hit well. I've never met anyone who strikes pressure points so directly. Who taught you to fight like that? Our hero kicks him in the side and says, none of your business. Joseph, well, as for me, I didn't learn from anyone else. The only thing I have is that my body is blessed. And this blessing came from heaven. I am heaven's messenger, carrying out its orders, and my mission is to punish the heretics. Don't you agree, Sister Yuna? And here, Joseph suddenly attacks, punching our hero and knocking him to the ground. We go back in time to when Yuna was at a temple camp. She's sitting with a group of people in the garden, telling them her story and how she doesn't live with her mother because of the family's debts, but she wishes she could live with her mother again. People gather around her and understand that her mother works to pay off the debts her father had borrowed. They all pray for her. And we see Joseph sitting and listening to this story. After he finishes reading the book in his hand, Yuna is walking in a hallway inside the temple. Joseph calls out to her, and she's very surprised, looking at him and asking if she can help him with anything. He answers her, my name is Joseph. I was with you at the temple camp last week and overheard your story. And honestly, I was very moved. But you know, I think I can help you with that. I know a way to get rid of all those debts, and quickly. Yuna asks him, what is this way? He tells her, you will take on a mission from heaven, which is to punish the heretics. And I see that you're the best person for this job. Of course, everyone, you understand that Joseph wants to catch people, film them, and blackmail them for money after exploiting Yuna's body. And we return to the bus in the present, seeing Joseph holding our hero by the leg, lifting him up and saying, Young, you're a vile and evil heretic. You were trying to seduce Sister Yuna, and now I'm the one who will punish you. Joseph raises his hand to strike him, but at that moment he takes a blow to the head, and Yuna, who hit him with the umbrella, then says, stop what you're doing right now. Joseph looks at her intently. Then he looks back at our hero and says, all of this is happening because of you, Young. Then he throws our hero to the front of the bus, slamming his head into the glass. Joseph then looks at Yuna and slaps her across the face, knocking her down, saying, it seems you're rejecting the blessing. But don't worry, I will now cleanse you of your sins. He starts to approach her, but suddenly feels a pain in his chest. He puts his hand over the pain and continues, why isn't my body responding to me? Suddenly he coughs up blood, shocked by what happened to him. We find our hero standing behind him saying, you said it yourself. My attack was targeting your vital points. Even if your body is blessed, you won't be able to withstand these internal injuries. What do you think? Joseph answers. It seems you're not in good shape either. Our hero replies while holding a bottle in his hand. This is nothing compared to the pain Yuna was enduring. And I've decided that people like you who commit sexual crimes must be punished physically and chemically, and they must lose their manhood completely. And that's where our episode ends for today.